And now something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Welcome, guys. How are you? We're here to do a show.
Bunch of whiny little girls out there.
Well, what's going on?
Look at the chat room.
I'm not even looking at the chat.
Perhaps they could hire an expert to help fix these problems. Love this show, but they really need to establish a set time every week in order to draw a solid audience.
Go fuck yourselves. How's that?
You think?
We do this for nothing. Guys, welcome. 888-659-3727. I'm just kidding about go fuck yourselves. We love you guys. And listen, I understand, people don't really recognize the difficulty of making this happen the way that we make it happen. Not always technical difficulties. Sometimes it's just timing issues. Sometimes it's, Joe has to be somewhere during the day to get shit done. And frankly, so do I. We work for a living. This is our time that we give to you for free. Without placing ads, without accepting sponsorship and all that happy horse shit that everyone else does, without selling products and services through some fucking website, no scalp rollers and laser caps and shampoos and all that happy horseshit that everyone's out there pimping. We're here providing you information free of charge from two guys who are in the trenches. I've been in this industry for almost 25 years. I've been researching the industry for 30 years. And the fact of the matter is, sadly, we know where all the bodies are buried, and there's a lot buried. This is the most treacherous field. I mean, weight loss is pretty bad, too. But in general, you're not going to be disfigured buying weight loss products and services. You can be, I guess. But look, now it's a $4.5 billion a year industry, the hair loss industry, with 99% of all products and services that claim to stop, prevent, or treat hair loss being complete bullshit. Almost everything that you see on the internet, sadly, is and on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this on Joe Tillman's YouTube channel, the hair transplant channel, almost everything you see on YouTube is complete bullshit. Almost everyone who's out there doing something, discussing hair loss issues, in the end has some sort of listen, I'm going to be straight, there's some good guys out there providing some good information. But there are several people out there who are providing some information, giving you guys a place to kind of hang out and, watch some content. But in the end, they want to sell you shit. That's the reality. And most of the shit that they're trying to sell you, if they're selling it, it's not working. If they're able to sell it to you from their own either online stores or whatever, it's most likely not going to help you. That's just the reality. Now, if they're selling generic FDA-approved products, that's a different story. But usually they're not. So I just want you guys to be careful out there. I really mean that 99% of all products and services that claim to stop, treat, or prevent hair loss don't work. That is our reality. There are 2 FDA-approved products. There are a couple of products that are FDA-approved, or at least one that is being used off-label, an oral medication, which is dutasteride. There are now topical preparations of FDA-approved products that seem to be getting some, pretty good results in a broad range of people. It really depends on where they're manufactured, how they're compounded. more physicians now are prescribing oral minoxidil off-label for hair loss, and we seem to be seeing some good results. Low-level laser light therapy, I'm starting to kind of see more anecdotal, and I don't even like to use the term anecdotal evidence because that doesn't really make sense. If it's anecdotal, there's really no empirical evidence. But there are some anecdotal reports, many of them now, that are claiming that low-level laser light therapy seems to be working to some degree. So I give that a pass. But everything else is bullshit. Period.
And the idea that
go ahead.
that some of these or any of these options are consistent, that if you take it, that it's a guaranteed positive outcome to some degree, that's another level of bullshit with how everything's presented, even with surgery, as if it's infallible. All of it is a crapshoot. Every bit of it. The only thing that's not a crapshoot is accepting your loss and moving on. And even that's, that's not easy for most people. But everything that's out there is a crapshoot. Surgery, medication, rollers, lasers, all of it. There is no guaranteed treatment, much less surgery.
And there is no guarantee that any of the treatments that are in or that are currently being researched, that are in development, are ever going to come to fruition. I was speaking to a company this week who want to present at this year's Global Hair Loss Summit, GHLS 2021. And this is another cell-based treatment that looks pretty promising. They're getting a tremendous amount of venture capital and real backing from real companies. This is actually the first time that's ever happened. So we're going to allow them to present and kind of announce it at the Global Hair Loss Summit. But I made it very clear that I am not interested even in bringing that information onto the broadcast right now because it provides consumers with false hope.
Yep.
They're at a point now where they haven't even conducted human trials. Things seem to be working in mice as usual and now in pigs, which is great. However, it doesn't mean it's ever going to come to market. Now, I would say that this company has the best chance that I've seen in my 20 years in this industry, but it still doesn't mean it's going to happen. And here's the problem that I also see. When I bring this stuff out for public consumption, which I have many times in the past, it creates a lot of buzz, which is great as far as if you just want to get traffic to your fucking website, and if you just want to get eyeballs or listeners to the broadcast. And, with that said, so many young guys are always like, why don't you talk about upcoming treatments? Why don't you talk about the treatments that are being talked about on these message forums or these specific websites? And my response is always, they usually end up turning out to be nothing. And sadly, a lot of guys wait to treat their hair loss because they're waiting for these treatments to come to market, which they never do. So I'm kind of torn. I could be the guy, we can be the resource where we get all the news. Everyone contacts me, or they contact me via the American Hair Loss Association. And we are, honestly, I don't want to sound obnoxious, but we're the first to get the information. Mm-hmm. But there was a time in the world where information like that was embargoed, meaning that even if we got the information, say it was Columbia University or whatever, they would ask us not to present it right away. And they would send us like an embargoed press release. And we would wait. That doesn't exist anymore in our culture. The press doesn't hold off on getting information out there. Bloggers and websites certainly won't hold off on getting information out there. I choose to hold off because, sadly, in my 24-year career, and I'm repeating myself, every product, service, every scientific model, every researcher that's come to me, everybody we've had on the show, especially in the early 2000s, it's all turned out to be nothing. And frankly, When it comes to the researchers, they're just trying to get research grants to continue their research, pay themselves and their staff.
Mm-hmm.
These companies that are potentially going to be selling products, whether they're kind of public companies or they're talking about going public, or they're private companies, they're just trying to get backers, and most of them aren't really getting the backing that they should, even if we give them press. And that always falls on its face. So I'm torn, Joe. I'm torn. I know I'm going on a bit of a rant, but I'm constantly getting emails. I'm constantly being asked, like, why don't we talk about this stuff? Because it usually doesn't turn out to be shit. So I don't want people to waste their time. These young guys are wasting their lives online, like debating whether this company is doing this, or whether they're waiting for something to be spoken about at a conference, but they're not treating their hair loss. And they're suffering.
I understand the drive to talk about things that are hopeful, but I have never been one to have any interest in things that don't exist for such for such issues. Like people have been talking for years about stem cell therapy, and even getting into debates and these online battles where they're actually insulting each other and coming after each other because of disagreements about something that doesn't exist. And
for years, we talk about the guy in the Netherlands who was supposed to be doing, hair multiplication.
God, yeah, the hair multiplication, yeah.
And this has been happening for 20 some odd years. These motherfuckers called me every name in the book, saying that I was trying to suppress this information, that I was afraid that if this particular doctor was promoted in a bigger way, that I would somehow lose millions of dollars a year because I would not be able to run my organization, all this happy horse shit. So you know what I did? Besides having him on the program 20 years ago and talking about it, I had him on. I did an interview with him about a decade ago, just to quell all that bullshit. And you know what I got? Kobren didn't ask him the right questions, or whatever.
Of course. Yeah.
And he just ended up making a tremendous amount of money and then disappearing off into the sunset, never to be heard from again.
Well, didn't his like there was a bankruptcy, and then I thought he came back. Isn't he out there right now?
It's not that he's not out there. He's just not out there in the way that he was. If you look at the message forums just 8 years ago, what was happening on Bald Truth Talk and the insanity on these other insane hair loss forums, it was like these guys were battling. People were threatening each other. They were threatening, exposing Kobren for not being willing to put the truth out there and suppressing the cure for hair loss. You motherfuckers are crazy.
And that's the whole thing. It's like people asking why we don't talk about future treatments, because there's nothing to talk about. It's like there are no future treatments. As of today, there are no future treatments. Like there's all kinds of people testing shit. It's the same stuff, just done again, maybe in a different way, slightly. And I don't mean to be a downer about this, but it's just the fucking truth. And that's why we don't talk about it, because it just leads to more assumption and conjecture, and it takes away from the opportunity to talk about things that are here today. Because, was it 250,000 people wake up every day realizing that they're losing their hair for the first time?
Right. Look, we're in an environment where medical...
We're not going to talk about this shit. We need to talk about stuff that helps.
We're in an environment where medical misinformation is being censored. That's never happened in the hair loss industry. And sadly, that's why so many people are being taken advantage of. I'm not saying that it should be censored, but I think that people need to understand what the reality is. People need to be made aware of what works, what doesn't, and what is potential bullshit. And even if there's something that's promising on the horizon, people have to be made aware of the fact that it could fail. It may not get the funding to, even if it succeeds, to come to market. And that usually, at least in the past, has been the case. Things that even were promising, they couldn't keep the momentum up. It doesn't matter how many of you guys are talking about it, it's not going to happen. Maybe if Elon Musk came out and said, I'm going to be investing in this company, things would change on that front. But that's not going to happen until I ask him to do that. I'm just kidding, Joe. Let's take some phone calls. 888-659-3727. Now, I'll tell you this. When I have both headphones in, it's a lot better to do the program, except these fucking headphones hurt my ears, man. I got the ears of a baby.
Good. Baby.
Got baby ears. Let's take a phone call.
Let's do it.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Pete calling from Texas. How you doing?
Pete from Texas. What's up,
Hello,
my
Pete.
man?
Hey, guys. Hey, I was wondering, I was listening to the commentary you guys were just giving, and it makes sense, but I'm curious. I mean, the whole thing about the future and possibly being able to clone hair stem cells, do you guys have any clue as to what is the chief stumbling block? I mean, if they can clone an entire sheep, what is, like, do you guys have any idea what the main problem with the whole cloning thing?
Well, essentially they have to reproduce just an organ, and not just an organ that is going to function, say like a heart, but an organ that has to reproduce itself and has different growth phases. So you're not just building something that's going to be implanted into a body and that's going to function when everything's attached properly. You're building something that's going to constantly, and obviously the cells have to turn over in that organ as well, but this is a complete regeneration where the organ dies and then regenerates every few years. That's a tough fucking thing to do, man.
Is that tougher than, like, cloning an entire sheep?
Yes. They've been able to clone the sheep. They cloned the sheep 20 years ago. They still can't do it with hair. So it's got to be tougher. People are working on it.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
I don't mean to depress you guys, but I mean, we have to live for today. Here is, I would say, the number one most important thing that people forget in life. We're all going to fucking die. And that could be in a week or it can be in 20 or 30 years. And so many people just waste their lives and their time and their energy just focusing on something that they have no control over, like when the cure for hair loss is going to be, or that they want to kind of wait for a while before they either get a hair transplant, and which is not a bad idea because hair transplant surgery is a last resort, but before they treat their hair loss, because they believe, because they saw this on a message forum or there's a group on Facebook that's talking about it, that something's going to come to market in a year or two, so they're going to wait for this. That never happens. Meanwhile, they spend their lives on the internet getting drunk, talking to other guys who are fucking miserable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they don't treat their hair loss.
You make a good point, and you know what it makes me think of is that guy, Joe from Staten Island.
Yeah.
When's the last time you guys heard from him? I mean, I feel bad for the guy. So, heart goes out.
I haven't heard from him probably in about 5 years. And my heart does go out to him. And he was a guy that really wanted to talk about future treatments. He is a guy that his life was stunted. He stopped living.
He had his own segment on the show talking about future treatments.
Right. He stopped living because of his hair loss.
Can I ask you about... I've listened to your show several times, but can I ask you a question about him to a small degree anyway?
Yeah, whatever you want.
Like, what happened to him? Did he have, like, a hair transplant that didn't go well, and he became depressed, and he kind of locked himself in his house?
Yeah, in the late 70s, he had a hair transplant by the one and only Dr. Norman Orenreich, who is, let him rest in peace, who destroyed, allegedly, countless lives. And
I went to Dr. Orenreich's office.
Yeah, I went there too in the late 80s. And
this was 1985 I went.
I would love to hear your fucking story, because all I can tell you is I went there. I was a very young man. I was 22 years old.
Oh, you think you're young.
He sat me down and he said, if you were my own son, I would suggest trying a few grafts, trying a small hair transplant. I had no visible hair loss as far as my hairline had not receded to the point where it would make any sense. And the crown was just beginning to thin. I was just losing a lot of hair and it was getting less dense. And I had the money at the time. If I would have gone in that direction, my life would have been destroyed. He was willing to put 4-millimeter plugs in my hairline as a test run. Just for the fucking money.
When I went to his office, they showed me this thing. It was like a little plastic rollover. I don't know, like sheets of paper. It's like, okay, well, hey, we put these big ones, and then they roll the sheet over.
Yeah.
And then we put these smaller ones, and then we put these smaller ones, and it looked good. But when I was there, I saw this older gentleman. He had to have been in his 60s at least. And I don't know if it was barbaric, but the guy appeared to have holes in the back of his head.
He did.
Was that happening back then?
That's exactly right. So you're talking you were there in 1985?
It was, it was 1985 or 86 at the latest.
So essentially they were using 4-millimeter punches. So they were doing FUE, what they do today, but with much bigger punches. So that's why this is not a new procedure.
Blasphemer.
So they were
blasphemer. They was not doing FUE.
They were punching out from the back of the scalp, and they were not closing those holes. So they were leaving these really large 4-millimeter punctate wounds of scar tissue. So it looked almost like
why would they do that?
A checkerboard. Because they were idiots. They didn't do any. Listen. Excuse me, I almost choked to death. This guy, Orenreich, essentially reinvented hair transplant surgery in North America. It was originally written about and invented back in the 1930s in Japan. That information was lost until after the war. Orenreich got his hands on some of this information, allegedly, and then kind of reinvented it and reintroduced it to the United States in the late 50s. What he was able to prove, which he proved a theory called donor dominance. And essentially, he was able to prove that if you moved hair from the back of the scalp and implanted it in the front, that it would continue to grow like it was growing in the back of the scalp. That's all he had to do. This guy was able to show that when hair moved from the back to the scalp, it took on this. It had the same characteristics as the donor area, and it did not fall out. It continued to grow and cycle. That was it. Motherfucker was off to the races, writing papers, books. Other guys like Walter Unger, got involved, and they didn't have to refine the surgery because they were able to prove that they were able to place growing hair back into balding areas. And they decided this was the best approach, and they didn't even try to refine it until years later.
And why should they? Because they got people banging down the door trying to get hair, and refinement and naturalness wasn't even on their radar. It's just like for decades, the idea was, well, I got something up there. It's better than nothing. I can't count how many times I heard that.
Jeez. So, that reminds me. I went to Shea Stadium back in 1986 to see the Mets play the Cubs, and I saw this guy. He was young, and he had a hair transplant, but it was weird. It's like he had these long hairs all over his head, and I think what the guy was hoping to do was get a perm or something, so he'd think it would all come together, but it looked awful, and it makes me think that, man, some of the people who went there must have become suicidal, do you think?
I know they have. We've been talking about this for many years, and it's something that has been kind of like a dirty little secret of the industry. Even, the grand poobahs of this industry, guys who I just mentioned, Walter Unger and Norman Orenreich, let him rest in peace. Why do I always say that? It's the Jew in me. I got to just, anytime I talk about a dead person, I got to tell him to rest in peace. Fuck him. The guy literally led the way to the destruction of so many lives. Guys like Joe from Staten Island. These guys saw what was walking back into their offices. They weren't blind to it. They saw it, but these guys...
And it wasn't because the technology... It wasn't because the technology wasn't there. Because, 15, 20 years earlier in Japan, Okuda was using 1-millimeter punches.
That's correct.
For hair transplantation.
He was the first to actually do what is being called today state-of-the-art hair transplant surgery.
Yeah.
In 1938. So here's the thing. In my view, the guys that got involved in this early were guys who were like, I'm really not much into doctoring. and I'm going to make a fucking shit ton of money because bald guys are idiots. They want hair.
Yep.
And that is really the genesis. That's how this industry was created. And it's unfortunate because all Orange Strike had to do was kind of go in the other direction and say, you know what, 4mm punches are too much hair, man. It's too pluggy. It doesn't look good. Let's try a smaller device. Let's go for 2mm at least to start, or 1.5mm. And things would have been much different. But it's a lot easier to punch out a big graft, fucking create a trench in someone's scalp with a punch, and then just set that in. Think about how barbaric that was. And that was happening up until not too long ago, honestly. And you know, it's happening again now. The stuff that I'm seeing out of Indonesia and Turkey and, other parts of the world, India, for people who are not really paying attention and they just think, okay, you know what? It's easier for us to use a 0.2mm punch or a 1.5mm punch so that we don't transect the hair. We're going to do that, and we're going to fucking drop 3 and 4 hair grafts, or cut the size grafts into people's scalps. Mm-hmm. And it's literally, we're seeing history repeat itself in this industry.
That's hard to believe, but... Jeez, that's really hard to believe.
How old are you?
I don't know.
I mean, so you were a kid in 1985, so I mean, you must be in your 50s.
Yeah. I'm 53.
Oh, you're a young man.
I feel young.
Yeah.
I'm actually training right now for American Ninja Warrior. No kidding.
You're kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding.
For you.
Dude, you got to I want to see you when you're on that, man.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying I'm going to make it. I mean, I'm in pretty good shape. But
if you make it, is there a way that we could send you a sponsor shirt, something to talk about the bald truth?
I suppose so. Yeah, I mean, you guys are cool. I mean, I like you guys a lot. So,
dude, that would help the show a lot. It's not going to make me any more money, but at least we're going to help a lot of people.
Yeah, well, no, that'd be cool. I'm happy to help you guys because I like you both.
All right, I'm going to hold you to that, man. If you make this, I'm going to hold you to that shit, and we're going to root for you here at the Bald Truth.
Yeah, right now I'm actually, one thing I'm focusing, because I do need to lose weight. I mean, I'm mostly muscle, but still, I'm going to be doing intermittent fasting, and I've toyed with it before, but I think that, are you familiar with it? I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I actually was the OG intermittent faster. I've been doing it for about 12 years. I recently just stopped because my fasting blood sugar was a little high, so I had to experiment with that. But I think I can get back into it. But yeah, I mean, that is, you want to lose weight and you want to keep your muscle mass, it is like, it just drops off you. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And also I hear clarity of mind is also pretty cool too.
I would say that for sure. In the morning, when I'm fasting, when I was fasting, I was very sharp. As soon as I ate something, I became Tillman again. Tillman, I'm just kidding.
Tillman.
See, I'm just sitting here listening, and I get a shot across the bow.
Because I want to make sure you're awake.
Joe, you should roundhouse him.
Yeah, my legs aren't that long.
Yeah, no, don't worry. He gets me. He gets me behind the scenes. Trust me.
I believe it. This is. I really do enjoy your show, and the name of your show is the best. The Bald Truth. I mean, come on, what could be better than that?
Yeah, well, tell that to Spotify. I'm waiting for a deal. Waiting for a deal like Rogan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'd be waiting for it for the rest of my life. But yeah, I'm waiting for it.
That'd be sweet, man. You guys do a lot of good things. You help a lot of people, so that's very nice. And pray for you guys.
Well, I appreciate that, man. And is there anything else that I can help you with?
No, you guys are great, and I will just, I'll let you go. But again, continued success, and I will update you on the American Ninja Warrior if it happens. So
please do, man.
Yeah.
When
are tryouts?
No, I'm just training. I just recently moved to El Paso, Texas, so I'm just starting to do the training. And as far as the actual tryouts, I mean, I'm still honestly, I got to lose like 20 to 25 pounds. So
how tall are you? What are you weighing in at?
I'm 6'1". I'm like 217, mostly muscle, but
Okay.
I mean, I got to lose at least 20, 25 pounds. Probably, maybe even 30. But
well, I would say, you know, if you're training to do this, then you obviously know your body. You've been training your whole life. But I'm telling you, you take it from a guy who, if you look at old videos, especially when I was drinking heavily, and when I say heavily, I was drinking a few times a week. I was 210 pounds of bloat, and you know, when I cut out the booze and I only drank like once a week, and I really watched my diet and did intermittent fasting really strict. I was really strict. I lost 30 pounds.
how tall are you?
I am now, sadly, I was just measured. I am 5'11" and 3/4. I used to be over 6 feet tall, but I shrunk, motherfucker. Can you believe that?
I don't believe that. No, I don't.
It's all
I
from
feel like
keto.
I'm getting taller.
Really?
From keto? Are you kidding?
No,
Yeah, he's
I'm
kidding. No,
but that's the thing is you
shrunk.
combine intermittent fasting with keto, and that 25, 30 pounds, like I lost 25 pounds just from going keto and starting strength training in 4 months. So combine that with intermittent fasting, you're gold.
But the good news about getting shorter is that your junk looks bigger. So
That's a way to optimistic way to.
yeah.
Mr. Glass half full. That's a good way of looking at that. And hey, if you don't mind, the very last question I want to ask, and I'll make it quick because it's going to bore your listeners. But when you were doing intermittent fasting, I'm thinking of doing like 17 hours of fast. Is that where you were about, or what was?
I got up to like a warrior fast where I was doing 20 hours.
It's unbelievable. Was that good or bad?
It was. I got down to like I was a solid 180, and in my 50s I had abs. Now those are gone because I got off the intermittent fasting. I noticed I gained like 7 pounds. But yeah, it was pretty significant. I definitely felt that I was thinking very clearly, especially in the mornings. Like I said, as soon as I added some food, I was fine, but I just wasn't quite as sharp.
Wow, that's a great insight that you guys are giving me. And hey, both you guys look great. I just can't believe. First time I came across your show, I was like, what the hell does this guy know about hair loss? I mean, and then I heard, like you say, like I paint the back of my head, and then I had seen like some videos of Joe Tillman, and I was like, man, I can't believe that. How did this guy get so much more hair? Like, did you have like body hair transplants, or where'd you get it, Joe?
No.
No,
Well,
Joe
I did have
used to have a
one-
twin brother who's no longer around.
Yeah, well, because
I'm sorry?
killed him for his hair.
Yeah.
No, I've just had a lot of hair transplants. And I was blessed with a very recoverable scalp. And I did have a body hair transplant, but it was just a small test of like 100 grafts, give or take.
Yeah.
With a 30% survival rate, give or take, 27% survival rate. But yeah, just a lot of strip surgeries, a couple of FUEs, and good planning.
And I have to say, and I don't say this lightly, because there's so many asshole critics out there. And everybody's got a fucking opinion. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But I've seen a lot of hair transplants in my life, a lot. More than I would ever wish on anybody to see. And,
more than I care to see.
And Joe's is probably he's in the top 3 hair transplants I've ever seen.
Thank you.
You would never, from a mile away, obviously you guys see him from a mile away.
Yeah.
It looks great. Imagine, I was up close. I was literally an inch away from his scalp. You couldn't see it was a transplant. I mean, I could see a couple of rogue, exclamation point hairs. That's normal.
But you'd really have to be looking for that, though. A guy like
no
you,
one in a
the
million
average
years.
person.
If he wasn't married and decided to go to a bar and meet some woman and say this is all transplanted hair, it wouldn't compute.
But it's a great opening line. That's what gets the discussion
great
going.
Opening line. That's great, man.
And
you guys are the
especially when I transitioned to saying, and it all came from my junk.
Yeah.
And then they're like, can I see?
Yeah. They would be like, no wonder you smell like that. Anyway, listen, dude, thank you so much. And I wish you the best of luck. Please let us know. And honestly, if you make it and you're allowed to, wear something on the back of your shirt, I will sponsor it.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, why not? I mean, I really like you guys. I mean,
Well,
Thanks for not being jerks. I've seen a couple other things on YouTube, and some people are just, well, you know. So anyway.
Well, I appreciate that. Listen, everybody's...
Sometimes people are people.
Social media is one of the most... I don't know. It really exposes the reality of human beings and human nature. And it's scary as shit, man. Now when I'm driving, I just put out my windows. I don't want to be next to anybody, any stranger. I'm like, what the fuck are they doing? You know, behind closed doors. All right, man. Good luck. Take care.
All right. Thanks again, guys. Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye now.
Phone number is
All right, thanks for calling,
888-659-3722. Now I'm all like depressed that I'm not intermittent fasting. But I really believe that it helped me a lot, but obviously, you know, there is something, and guys, we'll take your calls in a second. I read a lot about the possibility of your fasting blood sugar being higher than it should be, being in like pre-diabetic range if you are intermittent fasting. There are some doctors that say that's normal. I didn't feel comfortable with that. So I chose to use diet to get my blood sugar lower, which is working. But now I feel like...
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
Now I feel like, well, I can't intermittent fast anymore?
That's a conundrum.
It is. So I have to figure out how I can intermittent fast at least 16 hours a day while maintaining a low fasting blood sugar, under 99.
Why would your blood sugar go up, though, if you're fasting?
Apparently, I think the theory is that your body is searching for sugar for energy, and your pancreas will kind of give you a shot of insulin, increase that, or the opposite, however that works, and your liver will produce more insulin or more sugar automatically, unless you are completely depleted of it all, which I'm never in complete ketosis. But look, I'm not a fucking doctor. I can't explain that shit. This is not my wheelhouse.
Well, maybe give that a shot.
I'm the hair guy. That's what I know.
You know what? You should ask Dave Asbury. He might know.
You know, Dave might know. I'll tell you a thing about Dave. I like him. He knows just about enough to be dangerous.
Just about enough to be dangerous.
You know, on everything.
Exactly.
So I don't know if he'll know about this, but he knows a lot. You know, when I had him on the program, when we were talking about hair, he didn't know that much. And I was surprised about that. But he knew just enough to be slightly dangerous.
To his followers?
Not dangerous like he's going to harm people. I mean, like that he could explain himself and sound articulate and lucid in that process.
And people that don't know would think he knows what he's talking about.
But he did. That's the thing. He knows enough where he can guide people in a decently safe direction, but not quite enough as far as, you know, he's not in the trenches in the surgical world. I don't believe that, based on what he explained to me, that he really gave oral finasteride the chance to be as effective without adverse side effects as, you know, like there was no real titrating that I'm aware of. You know, I think he could have done really well on the medication given the amount of hair that he had. That's all I'm saying.
It was a patience issue or lack thereof.
You know, it's a lot of trial and error when it comes to using finasteride, and because of all the information that's out there, it scares the shit out of people. I mean, it's a drug that, you know, certainly passes the blood-brain barrier, which a lot of drugs do. People are concerned about that. There's a lot of concern about brain fog, which I don't think that's why I have brain fog. I think it's because I, you know, used to go out and get hammered so much and enjoy myself, and I'm old.
But was that his issue, though? He was afraid of the side effects, or he thought he was having side effects?
Yeah, I think so. I have to look at the videotape, and I'm pretty sure, yeah. If I recall correctly, he did mention that he felt off.
Okay, fair enough. I get that, of course.
But this is a guy who really would have benefited from it, because he started losing his hair later in life, and he had a lot. I mean, you could see it. You can see the vellus hair even in the balding area of his images. I believe a lot of that would have returned. You know, and he also, you know, he uses testosterone replacement therapy and all this hormone replacement therapy, that has to be titrated as well to avoid the effects it has on your hair.
Right.
So, but he looks good. He looks good now. I mean, I think he's about 10 years younger than me. So it's kind of good that he had something done so that he can live into his older years, you know, and be a man of my age
and
with a full head of hair.
Shape.
And be in good shape. Let's take a call.
Thanks to Dr. Alan Bauman.
That's right.
Let's answer, just before we take the next call, answer a couple questions we got flooded with. Michael L. says, Joe, do you think your hair in the back and sides thinned a bit over the years? I saw an old video of you the other day from 2004 where your hair looked like Elvis.
I'm going to say, I'm going to let you answer that question, but I have to just say, is that really nice? Who's the guy in the chat? Do you think that makes Joe feel good? I know that you're not intending to make him feel bad, you know, but you know, Joe's a human being. Joe wants to get out from behind this mic and go out and feel like his hair is exactly the same as it was 10 years ago or better.
But I understand what he's saying, and thank you for that, because you always get my back, and I appreciate that. But what he's talking about is, I think, how big my hair was, because I did do kind of like the rockabilly hairdo back then, because I could. It's like, in that the videos that you're talking about are from about 2006, and that was after I had my third hair transplant, or repair transplant. It had fully grown in. And I was having fun with it. I was usually doing, like, I was coloring it, kind of a blonde highlights sometimes, and I was doing that rockabilly hairdo because I've always wanted to do that. But part of it was a sham where I was brushing it back over my crown, and so the hair here in the front that you see was actually about 9 to 10 inches long, and it would go back and I would cover my crown because my crown wasn't nearly as thick or full as it is now.
Dude, look what I'm doing.
So,
it's a whole thing, man. And when the wind blows, it's like, shh.
Yeah, it's a flock of seagulls over there. So, so now the reason why my hair is so short is because it can be. Because the coverage is much more evenly distributed back versus the front, to where I can get away with shorter haircuts and it just looks thin. It doesn't look as thin as it would have back then. Also, I think it's a stupid looking haircut on me now. I'm 51 fucking years old. I don't want to rock that haircut anymore. So it was a lot of work, a lot of trouble.
Honestly, man, if I could, I would.
But I appreciate
the
question. Akash Dugal says, Joe, if someone gets exosomes done, is this a sort of treatment that's likely to be done indefinitely? Yes,
do
because
me
it's
one
a
favor.
treatment.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I want you to answer this question. I have to get some water, so I'm going to put the camera on you, turn my mic off, and I'm going to let you have it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Akash, if it was a cure, then that's what a one-time treatment would be. A treatment, by definition, I think by definition, is an ongoing, repetitive procedure to treat whatever it is that ails you. So in the case of PRP, exosomes, finasteride, anything that's out there that has any sort of positive effect on hair growth, reversing hair loss to any degree, you have to do it over and over for life or for as long as you want to keep your hair. So yeah, it's a treatment, and you do have to continue it indefinitely. Now, how often you have to do that, it depends on your physiology. It also depends on whether the mixture of exosomes is combined with anything else for better efficacy. And that's the thing with exosomes. We don't even know the source because there are different companies that have different quality of exosomes. So there are a lot of factors. I mean, to answer your question, you do need to keep going back based on a bunch of other factors. You know, how often, we don't know. Once every year, once every 2 years, once every 6 months. It depends on how you react, and it depends on the protocol. So I hope that answers your question. Let's see. FSK, I'm not answering your questions. Darren Green, I'm not using bum fluff or nostril hair, but I have considered it. Let's see. Derek Jordan, can someone answer my question? Is it okay to discontinue use of minoxidil on transplanted hair? Well, it depends on what you define as being okay, because if that transplanted hair is being affected in some way, which it can be, then ceasing use of minoxidil, it may induce some sort of effluvium. Transplanted hair is susceptible to an effluvium just like non-transplanted hair. So most likely it would be temporary, but still, if you have any native hair in that area as well, that may not come back if it's already miniaturized and it's just being maintained by that minoxidil. So keep that in mind and be careful. Let's see, what else? Fabian Caballero, Joe, do you happen to know if a guy that had a successful hair transplant and called the show a long time ago saying he was thinking of getting a divorce ever called again? Oh, I have no idea. God, how many guys have done that? Let's see. Joe's hair is getting better because it's got more gray. You're not wrong. When you do have gray and brown mixed in, that's actually one of the better combinations to create an illusion of fullness because of the way that the light strikes the scalp. The difference in hair shades can kind of break that up a little bit. So yeah, there's a benefit to that. So I think it does maybe look better because of that for a little bit. Let's see. Nope, nothing else here. Intermittent fasting cause hair loss? DB, does intermittent fasting cause hair loss? Rob Hellner says, no, it doesn't. I can't say that. I don't know, because it depends on how hardcore you are and how your body reacts. And sometimes, if you're stressing your body out from anything, and intermittent fasting can stress your body, then one of the responses can be some sort of effluvium. So I don't discount that 100%. It hasn't happened for me. My hair seems to be better than ever because of gray, because of more hair transplants, but also I think because I'm eating a lot better and I'm eating a better style, like with fasting. I've been fasting now for about 4 months, give or take, a couple of cheat days, but yeah, and I think my hair is better. Everything is in the green across the board right now. That's about it. Yeah, Jay Jones, is Spencer really getting a water or doing a line? I don't know. I can't answer that question. Yeah, okay. That's about it.
The answer is both.
And Rob Hellner, I know it's called a pompadour, but I can also call it a rockabilly. Don't give me a hard time, man. All right. Spencer's back. How was that line of water?
The answer is both. And I saw a question earlier from somebody who, I don't know if he was referring to both of us or just me, what we did, if we had anything done to look as youthful as we do. It's called good lighting, my man.
Good lighting. 8 strip surgeries. If I didn't do scalp exercises after all my strip surgeries, I'd be like this.
Here's the key, and this is a very important thing for all you young guys. Maintenance in everything in life is key. Your car, your body. Listen, you could live a lot. You could have a lot of fun. You can party. I used to smoke cigarettes. I did all kinds of shit. But in general, everything was done in moderation. And I always countered it with either playing basketball, exercising in some form or another, lifting weights for my entire life. So there's a lot of guys I know that never smoked, they never drank, and they look like shit because they just sit around all day and let their bodies fucking atrophy. They're not reading, so they're letting their minds atrophy. They're not thinking or learning. They're stuck on Long Island with their fucking obese wives and 3 kids. I'm sorry, those are my friends. But you know, that's what happens to people. They let themselves decay. You know, I'm not a huge believer of taking a lot of supplements and, you know, doing all these things that people are selling and doing to stay young. I believe that some of that stuff can help, but it's really about movement and learning and keeping your mind young as well. Staying thin is really helpful. Not letting your weight fluctuate too much, which I did for a short period of my life, but not do it throughout your entire life, because then your skin stretches out, your face gets all fucked, the muscles in your face, you know, because of gravity and just losing elasticity in your skin and creating more volume from fat and all that stuff, that creates your facial dropping. And there's a genetic component as well, but I really think a lot of it has to do with your mind and your willingness to maintain. Like, I'm driving around now in a 16-year-old car. That's my pandemic car. If you saw this car, it looks like it was fucking hermetically sealed for the last decade and a half. And that's because I maintained it.
It's like the housewife from the 1970s that's got all the couches wrapped in plastic.
Exactly. But it's because I've maintained it. You know, and I have a little OCD, but I'm also a believer that a guy's car is really a reflection of his self-esteem. Not what kind of car he drives, but how he keeps his car. Mm-hmm. If someone picks me up, if I'm doing business with somebody, and I'll tell you a story. I was flying to San Jose. I was consulting with this company, and you know, this guy would pick me up in a car. It was like there were like Cheetos wrappers in the floor. And I'm thinking, I don't want to do business with this guy.
Yeah.
If he's not organized enough in his mind to keep his car clean, who the fuck knows what I'm getting
Especially when he's
involved
picking
in?
up a potential business partner.
Right. Anyway, let's take a phone call. Hey man, you're on the air. I just took a phone call. I'm about to give out the number. Sorry about that. Caller, you're on the air.
I think he knows.
It's all good, you guys. My name is Michael from Torrance. Joe, you answered my question already about in terms of like, you know, stopping minoxidil on transplanted hair. I just wanted to see if you can give me some more insight. And okay, yeah. So pretty much, I got my hair transplant a year ago with Dr. Kare in Turkey. I love the results, but I think so. I got my temples and my front of my head transplanted, right? And so I've been continuing to use minoxidil for approximately a year now. And you're right about the native hairs, because I still had so when he transplanted the hair, I still had like native baby hairs that were semi-growing, but they weren't growing. They weren't growing the same as the rest of the hair. So that's why I got that area transplanted. So my question originally was, if I stop using minoxidil, you know, would you think that I'll see a dramatic effect? And if I did, do you recommend me like weaning off? Maybe.
Well, I look at it like this. Like, I'm not a big fan of using minoxidil just because someone got a transplant. So, did you start it before or after you had the hair transplant?
Yes, sir. So I started that way before, about like 5 years before I got my hair transplant.
Okay. So did Karai or Dr. Erdogan ask you to stop taking minoxidil before the surgery for like a week or two?
Yes, sir. So I stopped about 2 weeks prior to the surgery taking place.
Okay. Then you came in, had the surgery, and then he said you can restart minoxidil a week or two, maybe 3 weeks after surgery, right?
Yeah. So I stopped for 2 weeks, and then after about a week, I started to use minoxidil, and everything's fine right now. But I just wanted to, you know, just to see your thoughts. Yes, sir.
Well, my thought is, okay, another question. Why do you want to stop it now if you've been taking it for 5 years?
Well, I mean, that's a really, really good question. I don't know. I was just curious in terms of like what would happen, because I mean I'm 27 right now, so I know that minoxidil is terrible because you have to use it, for the entirety of your life if you want to maintain what you have. But I just wanted to see what would happen if I stopped.
You are a very brave man because you spent at least $10,000 on a surgery, right?
Around $7,000.
Okay, thousands of dollars. You maintained your existing hair with minoxidil. Then you spent several $1,000s for a hair transplant, and now a year later, you're really happy with the result, but you want to see what will happen if you stop taking minoxidil. You want to risk everything that you've done just because you're curious. Am I hearing you right?
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Question asked, question answered. Is that what we're dealing with now?
Well, okay. Well, so the thing is, just let me be 100% truthful. I don't. Yeah, if you guys judge me, then hey, it is what it is. But I'm joining the military very soon, and so in boot camp I won't be able to take minoxidil for approximately 2.5 months. So that's the issue. That's a curiosity.
Well, in that case, if you're not going to have access to it, then
and I'm curious, why do you think we would judge you?
Oh, well, that statement wasn't really towards. It was towards the viewers, but
thank you for your service, man. Jesus Christ! I mean, you're a patriot for crying out loud.
Especially nowadays,
in a very
people
difficult
going to the military,
in a very difficult time to be in the military.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going for intelligence, so it's not a ground and pound and.
It doesn't make a difference. You're still under crazy. Listen, let's put it this way. Things are just not what they used to be. So even just being involved in the military, being an intelligence officer in the military, that's a big fucking deal.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And don't think that you're going to be pounding the ground, because you could piss off your CO at anytime in the future, and you'll find yourself, scrubbing pots in some hole in the desert. You never know.
And who knows what's going to happen with President Harris? So.
Yeah, no, that's true, and I know what one for sure way to get in trouble is trying to sneak in a bottle of Rogaine into my my barracks. So I don't want to do that.
Well, yeah, absolutely don't, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're gonna be canceled in the fucking military.
Look, I think that because of your decision,
yes, sir,
you're bound to find out anyway, right? So the answer is in front of you. When are you going to boot camp?
September 7th.
Okay, so you'll be finding out probably around November, but you can try reducing your dosage and your frequency before then.
I would start to titrate now,
just to kind of wean yourself off.
Yeah, I would start to titrate now, wean yourself off of it, and then by the time you get your hair cut, you're not even going to notice the shed.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I was thinking about that too. I was thinking about, well, you know what? I could just go ahead, because right now I'm using it approximately like 5 days a week, once a day. Some people like to use it twice. That's the hassle for me, so I apply it once a day. So I was thinking maybe start cutting or taking a day off as the weeks go by. So it won't hit me all at once.
100%. Okay. I was on it for years, and I actually weaned myself off it. I did it over about a 1.5 year period, and I don't think that I really had a massive telogen effluvium. And I talked about that. I actually did it on the radio. I talked about it every week back when I actually had a radio show, and it worked. I did pretty well. You don't have that much time, but because you're going to be getting your head shaved, it's a great time to start now. You're not going to notice. If you start now, you will probably start a shed, if you do shed, and you probably will, around the time you're in boot camp. So it's perfect timing to start now.
Okay. So I'll do that then, and like everyone else does, I just want to say, I appreciate you guys a lot. I love you guys' YouTube, your Instagram, all the advice you give us men out here, battling hair loss, and I'm glad that you guys are safe, from COVID and what's going on right now. So.
Well, I appreciate that, and we appreciate you. Thank you for doing what you're about to do and for your service to this country. And you know what? When you, after boot camp, call us from the base or wherever you're stationed.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna watch you guys until I die. Well, it's you know.
And hey, by the way, once you get into your chosen specialty, which from here on out we gotta, not talk about it.
Okay.
Give us a call, and we'll give you what we know, and you can start using the powers at your fingertips to find out where the cure is being hidden.
All right, tell me about it.
Yep.
My God.
See?
Yeah, I know. Go ahead.
All right, man.
All right, guys.
I like I said, I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right, we appreciate you. Thanks a lot, man. Take care.
Bye.
Take care.
Fucking guy in this environment is going to the military. I got to applaud him.
The balls on that guy.
It's like these people who are actually going to go through police academy now. I got to tell you, I fucking admire these kids.
Well, they're either super brave or super stupid.
Either one. Well, what is going to probably happen is the super stupid will be the people in the academy eventually. The people that are now, protecting Sephora's and other mall shops are going to be the cops if this continues. Just saying.
They're rubbing their hands together. Yes, finally.
Let's put it this way. Here in Los Angeles, I think the cutoff age to become a sheriff was 50. That may be expanded, or is the word expanded? That may be, the cutoff may be eventually 60. Maybe I could become a fucking cop still. Can't be a baseball player anymore.
Ooh. If I could be a cop.
I could pull a fucking Steven Seagal, man. Get my own show. That'd
Only
be great.
if we wear the leather jacket with the tassels.
I'll get my own reality show. I'll be like the old fucking sheriff. Rookie. Old rookie.
I forgot about that. It was so bad.
I'd be like, I'd be, my first chase, I'd break a hip. Let's see what this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from? Hey, caller. You're on the air.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, it's your friend Steven from New Jersey, guys.
Steven from New Jersey. How are you?
Do you remember me? You may not remember me from in the fall.
I don't, and I'm not going to lie. Joe is about to bullshit you and say he remembers you.
No. I was the one you guys talked me. I was about to have a hair transplant by the vascular surgeon, and you guys let me in and some facts. So I remember I was real pumped. I wanted to take you guys to Sparks for some, lobster size of a child and some fillets. That's me. I don't know if you remember.
Well, I appreciate that. No, I do. Now I do remember you because of the vascular surgeon reference. And as far as meeting anybody for dinner, Joe from Staten Island ruined that years ago.
Oh, why? He got crazy on you?
No, he didn't. He didn't get crazy on me. He was actually very, very kind. It's funny. I'll tell you a very brief story. Joe took me to Morton's when Morton's was on 45th Street.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When Morton's, I don't know if you remember the old Cattleman. You sound like a New Yorker. And that turned into Morton's. And Morton's was on 45th Street for years. And that's where we met. And he said, I have a town car that I hired to take you home. And I was just like, this is fucking creepy. I just met the guy. He's very nice. I mean, we had a nice time. So I told the town car to basically drop me off at a bar, which was like 5 blocks away from where I lived.
Because he didn't want him reporting the address back to Joe.
I just, and not that Joe creeped me out at all. It's just, the whole thing was just like, I mean, he treated me like a king. It was great. And I really appreciated it. And then obviously we had him on the program calling in for years. But, I just thought the town car was an interesting move. Let's put it that way.
So, yeah, that wasn't in the works for me, but I was very appreciative. I wanted to send you guys some candy. and you were like old school because I wanted to go to Sparks, and because it didn't matter.
That's
but
good.
I called in once before, and you guys were good, right? I was going to get the hair surgery, and I wasn't on any drugs, and I sort of, look, we're at that age. I'm 56 like you, where the things that I want are starting to fall off, and the things that I don't want are starting to grow, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So, right. So, all right. So listen. But anyway, it was a good conversation, and all right. So listen. So, and remember, I freaked out about finasteride, and you guys had me. You talked me off the ledge. So I don't know if you remember that too. So anyway, 6 months have gone by, and the hair still, I'm losing it. So I had some more conversations. I get my I go to see the urologist, and I get PSA tests every 3 months. And, I have them check me out just for normal stuff, right?
No, I'm curious. Why do you get your PSA tested every 3 months?
So initially when I was 45, my guy started me on a PSA test, my internal guy. So I have no history or anything. So he starts them early, right? And his view is, once a year you get a PSA test. And for up until about 3 years ago, I would get it once a year. And it was good, right? And what they're really looking for as one of the markers is if it changes dramatically a test over test, it could be an indication, right? So nobody told me that if you have like intercourse, or you get it, you use your pecker, right? It screws up the PSA test. So I had a PSA test, and the number went from like 2 to like 4 or 8. And he's like, "Hey, Stephen, we need to talk. What happened here?" And I was like, I had relations, right? And it freaked me out. So I was like, then I went to see the urologist, and he checked me out, and everything's fine. And since then, I get my test every 3 months because I've been taking Lipitor and metformin for about 20 years, right?
So you have type 2 diabetes?
Well, my A1C is like 5.3, so the answer is the test, the blood sugar will tell you no, but I treat it as if it's type 2. So everything you guys were talking about exercising, I exercise every day, I watch what I eat, I'm very thoughtful, right? So because we're testing my A1C and my sugars every 3 months, we just add the PSA. You follow? So there's no harm in it.
Sure. But, just to let you know, and I'm not telling you not to do the PSA, but, even the American Cancer Association and, one of the former presidents who I actually had on the show, I forget his name, Otis something or other, he was a urologist, and he said that, he doesn't recommend PSA anymore because based on PSA, there's a lot of false information, and people end up making decisions where they have procedures like biopsies that end up causing more harm than good. So there's kind of a question about the PSA now.
So, but it's interesting you say that. So the PSA is just, we throw it in there. He sees me every 6 months. He does the dipstick, right? He puts me on the table. He's got the ultrasound. He looks at the prostate, the kidneys, and that's it. To your point, right, it's just an indication, right? And then I get my blood work, my major medical, every year we do the big blood work, and there they look at the creatine, right, and the other stuff. And that's an indication of kidney issues, right, as well as the prostate. So I'm with you, so for me, my head is I feel comfortable. I get the PSA. It's just a marker. And if we thought something looked weird, it would just be a.
But what Joe wants to know is what's your question?
Oh, he's bored. All right, so listen, guys. No. I got a story.
So no, that's on me. I'm just putting him in the crosshairs a lot today, having some fun.
No. So listen. So I was talking to him, and he's like, "Look, dude, you're in a good spot. You got all good blood work at your age. You're doing what you're supposed to do, right? Which is like you guys are talking about, right? Eat good food, right? Just think about life in the right way. Be positive. Just enjoy life, right? It's the only one you got." So I said to him, and I said, "Listen, my hair's going." He goes, "We can do something about that." So, and I said, "What do you mean, like finasteride?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, he doesn't prescribe it, but he knows a lot of people that use it. And I said, "Look, I was freaked out about it." And he goes, "I know." He goes, "You went on the internet and you saw it." And he's, "Look, I'm telling you, I prescribe for enlarged prostates, Proscar, I think it is, Proscar, right? 5 milligrams, and he says that's 5 times what people would take, and he has nobody that has side effects from it. He said, in fact, he actually likes this thing called Avodart, which he thinks is much better than Proscar, and that's what he likes to put his people on. So then I said, all right, I'm going to go see my dermatologist.
No, I'm curious, though. I mean, this is a guy that he can prescribe it. He can prescribe you finasteride 5 milligram dose, and you can cut it up, or you can. If he really wanted to, he could prescribe Propecia for you.
He could, but he's not a hair guy. So what I agreed to do is go see a very good dermatologist down where I live, like a great dermatologist, right, who my intern knows. So I went to see the dermatologist who does this hair and nails, right, hair, skin, and stuff. So I went to talk to him, and I said, look, what do we do about my hair? And he said, what you guys do. He said, there's just a few things you can do, right? And he said, there's the oral medication, right, which is the finasteride. He said, there's the minoxidil. He said, people are starting to take oral, which is the older. And they said, there's PRP. And then I told him the story about the hair replacement. He grabbed me and he said, Stephen, he goes, don't go to anybody. If you're ever going to do this, come talk to me. And you only go to somebody who does hair, which is what you guys said, right? Don't go to one of these shoddy. You told me the story about there's an app and that people just show up, right?
Yeah, he told you that story, or did we tell you that story?
You told me that story.
Yeah.
Joe told me that story.
Yeah.
There's an app, right? So you guys told me all the good stuff. And he goes, look, and I said, Doc, look, is there anything we can do I'd like to try? He goes, yeah. He goes, I can give you a prescription for Propecia. And I said, look, I'm concerned. I went on the internet. He says, and this is a legit guy, right? Like not just some fly-by-night, a real legit dermatologist. And he says, look, I've been prescribing it forever, and I've never had a single person that's come back to me. So I looked at him, gave him a hug, and I said, okay. So he wrote me a prescription for Propecia. I said, I won't take the generic because I've listened to you guys on the phone. I'm going to take just the Propecia 1 milligram, and tonight's going to be my first run. So
Holy shit.
I called to say hello.
Wow. Well, muzzle tough. So do you want to take your first pill on the air?
No, I want to take it with food. So I don't want you to, if you're asking me to break my cherry on the air, right? But,
No. So, now listen, I'm glad that you did your due diligence. I'm glad that you spoke with 2 physicians who both prescribe finasteride on a regular basis for the long haul. And I can tell you this, there are people, when I say this, they fucking lose their minds, but I know literally a couple of thousand prescribing physicians who are just in this field. I work with, to some degree, about 75 of those doctors. The incidence of adverse side effects in practice, in their practices, for guys who prescribe this to potentially hundreds of patients a year who have been on it for long periods of time, the incidence of long-term adverse side effects, I can count on one hand from these guys reporting to me, and I've asked them. And they still aren't completely clear on whether or not what percentage of those people who were concerned about this were suffering with psychosomatic issues, because it usually occurs in the young, at least in their practices.
Yep.
Which is interesting. So his view is that I'll be able to tolerate it. I can tolerate other medicine, right? I told you I take the metformin, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with, but your blood sugar is dangerous, right? And
it's also being used now. It's also being used off-label for anti-aging. It has a certain anti-aging mechanism that they're showing it. And I'll tell you, it's interesting that you say that, because when I was told that my blood sugar was just a little high, and I fixed it with diet, I'm just like, maybe this will give me a script for metformin. I could start using this for my anti-aging regime or regimen, I should say.
Actually, there's some books out there, and there's a lot of scientists that take it for themselves because they found that it also has some anti-cancer functionality, right? Because it helps with your blood sugar, and sometimes cancers feed off of it. But it's one of these drugs that it's almost like a statin. Like, they're not sure whether everybody should get it, but there's other prescriptions for it. So the point is that I take a low dose. I take 2 500, right? I keep my blood sugar because you've got an epidemic of obesity, right? And you guys are talking about healthy eating and eating good and fish and vegetables and fruits and getting fiber in your body, right? Impacts your hair, right?
I don't eat fish, dude.
So, oh, you don't eat fish?
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
So,
I eat it once in a while.
no. All right, but you want to put good food in your body, right? So you've got obesity, Reverend. So the thought is that my body tolerates the metformin and the Lipitor that in theory, Propecia shouldn't blow me out of the water, right?
It's not even a theory. It's not even a theory.
Guys.
The incidence of the actual incidence of clinical adverse side effects with finasteride or even dutasteride are statistically low. A 1 milligram dose of finasteride is exceptionally low. So, the fact that you spoke to two physicians who both said, listen, get off the fucking internet.
Yeah, two very well regarded, like the real deal, like you guys, right? Like two really serious doctors. It just so happens, whatever you want to say, but in New Jersey, there just happens to be some very good physicians where I live, right? And you can just, because they can make a living, or they
I love Jersey. I would never say anything against New Jersey. I love Jersey girls
that
too.
Governor. No, seriously, this isn't a political show, but I've got a governor who should be arrested, right, for negligent homicide.
I live in California, yo. Okay.
Which is terrible. Your governor is worse. It's bad. But
I live in Canada.
That's true. They're burning down. They're burning down cities in Canada.
Just listen. I'm a Jew, right? So nowadays you don't know whether you're going to get assaulted.
I didn't know that. Come on, I'm a Jew too.
Well, I know you are, but I know. Happy Shabbos.
His Judar was going crazy.
Honorary member.
I was going to be like, are you a Jew? Because you really tell a story like all my family members.
Yeah, no. So listen, but I was the one who wished you and your family, both of your families, the best afterwards, and you said that's something a Jew would say. I don't know if you remember, but that's what I said.
Yeah.
So listen, so I'm gonna. So this is where my head is, and I think it's the right thing to do. I don't want to take the generic. I only want to take the main brand, Propecia, right? That's
Do it.
The brand name, correct?
We know. Listen, this is the company that did all the testing. Their molecular structure of their drug has been the same since it's been introduced. It's not going to change. So you know what you're getting.
So,
you're a 56-year-old man. You could probably afford it without a problem. So why not take the real McCoy?
So that's what I'm going to do. So let me ask you something. Assuming it digests well, you're not like I shouldn't expect like lots of hair loss, right? Like this shouldn't like totally like it could take. So he was saying it could take like I think you guys said it could take up to years for it to really impactful. Is that right?
Yes. You're probably if you are a good responder, you're probably going to see something happening within 3 months. And that's very minimal. That could be like either a cessation of shedding, or you can see like you may notice that. Wait a second. My overall hair quality seems slightly better, or the sides and the back are a little bit better. You're not going to see anything that's going to be significant for minimum, I believe, in 6 months to a year, usually about a year. But
which is the thought, right? And so let me ask you another thing. Like in theory, right? Assuming I don't have a really bad reaction, this isn't going to increase the shedding, is it? Or
it can. I mean, anything that you take that actually works to treat your hair loss could put you into a shed or a telogen effluvium. The question's been out there for years. There are some people that call it the dread shed. After 5 months they go through it. After 3 months they go through it. And some people never go through it. It really depends on when you call it the hair loss. Meaning, if you're taking it when you're kind of like more of an anagen phase, your hair is not synchronized, but where there's less of a telogen phase or even less hair in a resting phase, like a catagen phase, there's a chance that you'll never go through a shed. If you catch it at the wrong time, you may go through a slight shed to a severe shed. Usually doesn't last that long. People freak out, and I understand it, but at least in my case, it was completely recoverable. I didn't go through my shed until 8 months down the road. Now, back then, no one was talking about it on the internet. The internet was barely in its existence, and I was taking the drug like a guinea pig. So at that time, I was taking 5 milligrams a day for 8 months, and I upped my dosage when I went through the shed to 7.5 milligrams a day. For my body, I had no adverse side effects. And I'm not telling anybody to do that, but that's how much I was putting into my body as a young man at the age of, I don't know, 27. So to be specific in answering your question, we don't know if you're going to go through a shed. I don't have a crystal ball. It's possible, but a lot of people don't. How's that?
And if I do, in theory, that'll grow back, or most of it, or not.
There's a pretty good chance that it will grow back. Theoretically, it should grow back, and essentially, you're just kind of pushing your hair into a telogen phase, meaning that it's still going through a growth cycle, and hair will sprout and continue to grow. So, yeah, most people. I don't think that I've ever spoken to somebody who continued the medication after a shed who didn't grow their hair back. I don't know, Joe, have you?
I'll say I remember people that have had a shed, took a break on the medication, and it didn't grow back. I can't say that I know people that have stuck with it through the shed and it didn't come back.
I think that's key. You have to muscle through it, just like side effects, in my opinion. And again, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not giving you medical advice. But I know guys who have had side effects early on, and then they muscled through it, and they were transient. Go ahead, Joe.
I think I do remember someone, but it's such a rare occurrence. I mean, I had to think, that hard just to remember one guy.
So you're telling I just want to explain. You're telling a Jewish guy, a New York Jew, that it's a possibility.
This show is about honesty.
You know how I am. I get fucked up over everything. No, honestly, man, don't let it stress you out. You spoke to two well-heeled and just well-respected physicians who prescribe this a lot. They haven't seen this in their practice. It's very rare that could possibly happen. The side effects are rare. I think you're going to be in good shape.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of hoping on, right? So, and he's like, his view. So, look, my view is if it's going to go, it's going to go.
Would you have thought about this 20 years ago if a doctor said, "Here's a medication that could stop your hair loss"? You wouldn't even think twice. You just fucking take it.
Well, that's the issue, right? And that's why I'm saying to myself, like 20 years ago, I would have taken it and just wouldn't have even. Listen, when you start on, like a Lipitor, right, it still has a reaction to you, right? Or, I take a small dose of blood pressure just to keep it, which is also another concern, right? So, like all this stuff, you take to maintain your body, right? Because I beat my body up a lot because I lift weights and, I was a power lifter. You know what it's like, right?
Yeah, Jesus, I'm glad I'm just on cocaine and Proscar.
There you go, right? The cocaine, that's all I need, right?
Yeah.
So
that's a joke, people. Please don't use that as a clip to put on the internet to fuck with me.
No. A good combination.
So, see, only because you said that, now someone's going to do it.
Yeah.
So the guy who does, the urologist, the guy who's always operating, he gives his people 5 milligrams.
Steve, we have other calls waiting, right?
All right, I'll see you later.
Dude, okay, one quick question. Go ahead. I'll finish. I'll listen. Go ahead. I'll take it.
Who, for me? No, I'm just calling to say hello and telling you that I'm taking the Propecia. So my biggest concern was that all of a sudden I'd have all the hair start.
Dude, let me tell you something. You sound like you are in good shape. You sound like you went to 2 good doctors, like
Absolutely.
I said. You got the information from us. You're 56 years old. You still have hair in your head. You want to keep what you have. This is your only shot. This is your only chance. I'm being honest with you. I mean, you can take dutasteride. You can try topical finasteride. But to me, in my view, as not a physician, but as someone who's been experienced in this personally and has been doing this for 25 years, this is your best first line of attack.
Sounds good.
All right, man? And you know what? Maybe one day, if I ever decide to go back in New York, I'll let you take me out to Sparks, but no limos, all right?
That's not my style, but I just wanted to say thank you, guys.
All right, man. Good luck. And, listen, Mazel Tov on the
we appreciate
decision.
the support.
I think you're going to be fine. And let us know. Call us next week or whenever. Let us know how you feel.
Okay, I will.
All right, good luck.
You too, Joe.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Joe. Bye-bye.
See you, buddy.
Did I bum him out joking around with him? I hope not.
I just called in to say hello and ask about finasteride.
20 minutes later.
I love it. We're busting your balls, man.
Yeah,
Steve,
we're busting your balls.
And
And I like Sparks. I'll take that old school steak, and I'll get the shrimp cocktail that they have, and get some whiskey, some Jamesons, or maybe some bourbon. I mean, I'll bring a bodyguard, but I'll meet you. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Morty from Ireland.
Morty from where? Ireland?
I'm spoken with you guys. It's Pat from Ireland here. How are you?
Hey, man, Morty from Ireland. That's awesome. If there's a single guy named Morty in Ireland,
no, there is not. It's Pat from Ireland. It's Pat.
Pat from
how are you?
All right, man. How are you?
See,
man?
next week Morty's going to call in. He's going, "Hey, it's Pat from New York."
It's not going to work though. That was funny.
It's not going to work.
That'll work for me. That'll work for me because that guy is an absolute legend. He is absolute legend.
He's great.
I was only calling in, guys, just to catch up with you. I was on the phone to you. I suppose it was about a month or two ago. I called in one night and we were just chatting about the recourse that doctors might have to do bad operations on patients. Just to refresh your memory. But no, really, I was only just dropping in just to see how things were with you. Just to say hello and just to catch up, like.
Well, we are. I think I'm doing pretty well. I think Joe's doing all right.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I got my second jab today. I got my second jab today for the COVID. I got the second jab.
How do you feel? How are you feeling after the shots?
It's interesting because my wife got it as well today, and she has been in bed the last 4 hours. The kids are up in bed. It's 1 a.m. here at the minute, and I'm downstairs drinking beer.
Yeah, everyone reacts to things differently. Just keep an eye.
You have an unusual desire to pay more taxes?
No, is that a joke? I don't get.
Okay.
Yeah, he's basically throwing in a conspiracy joke there. Like somehow, this jab is going to make you do things that you normally never want to do.
You got your second government mandated vaccine. Do you have an unexplainable urge to support your local politicians?
No,
bad
because
joke.
It was free. The jab was free.
Free jab.
But was it really?
Now, you guys worried about what they're calling the Delta variant, which was originally the Indian variant? Are you guys worried about that in Ireland, or I guess you guys are more concerned about the UK variant?
Yeah.
There's a different variant in Europe now.
The Delta one is basically the Delta one originated from India.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to you both before about that. I'm actually due. I was meant to go to eugenics last August.
That's right.
To get corrective surgery done. And just the whole COVID thing has just put a halt to that. At the minute now, after me getting the second vaccine, in the EU, what they've done is they've got this kind of digital certificate that at the end of July, beginning of August, they're going to reopen airlines that fly in the European Union.
So you need to, you're going to need a vaccine passport?
Exactly, yeah.
It's heavy, man.
Just to prove, they will only let you fly. That's what they're talking about. The governments in
that
the
is Orwellian.
are talking about.
That is wild.
Yeah,
yeah.
They're talking about that. Airlines want to open back up. Like they haven't been in business for the last.
Well, listen. If private companies want to do it, listen, that's their choice, and that's a great thing about capitalism. So if they want to make that happen, then whatever.
So so the way it's looking at the minute is that the European Union are kind of looking at this digital. I think it's called a digital certificate, where basically if you can prove that you've been vaccinated against COVID-19, you can get on a plane. Otherwise, you have to go for a PCR test 72 hours before you fly, and then when you land, you have to go for another PCR test.
Well, okay, so they're giving you an option to take a test. That's fine too. So that's it. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just had a couple of questions. First of all, you were chatting about the intermittent fasting with another caller.
Yeah.
I think the intermittent fasting, I think it is absolutely excellent, just from my point of view. Christmas gone, I was always interested, Spencer, about you spoke before about your workout routine, that you train, you work out regularly.
Yes.
And I remember before you said if I took hormone replacement therapy, I would be absolutely jacked.
Yes.
And along with me myself, I like to exercise. I exercise 5 times a week. I was always interested to know what your regime is. I've tried the intermittent fasting myself, and last Christmas I just ate. I stopped training. I just ate chocolate, drank beer, just gorged on food, and I put on 15 kilos in weight in the space, I could say, 2 months.
Well, I'll tell you what, my regimen was pretty simple. I basically, for many years, ate one big meal a day, and I would try to not eat at least 16 hours minimum per day, which obviously you're 8 hours of sleep plus, so I would stop eating around 8 o'clock and then not eat until, the earliest I would eat would be 12 noon. There were times when I went up to 20 hours. But it's hard to get all of your protein, for me at least. I mean, I'm like an average size guy. I don't know if I'm on the bigger side yet. Just like a little taller than average, a little bigger than average, I guess. So it's hard to get enough protein in a 4-hour window. So, maybe have a 6-hour feeding window to get all of your protein. And that's kind of how I lived for a long time.
I'd be very similar to yourself. You mentioned there you were 5'11" and 3/4. I'm pretty much the same. I'm 5'11", 3/4, 6 foot, thereabouts.
Oh, and trust me, Joe's friend Mike would never let me live that one down. This guy was like, I thought you were 6 feet. You're not 6 feet. I'm like, no, I'm not. I shrunk. And what's the big fucking deal, you giant? This guy's about 6'5".
Yes, about 6'5".
Yeah. Go ahead, man. Sorry.
But no, it's the same as you, Spencer. I did the intermittent fasting, and you were asking about how it works. There's a guy that I work with told me about it, that you fast for what I was doing was 16 hours off, 8 hours on eating.
Yeah.
And your first meal had to be solid fats and solid protein, no carbohydrates.
No carbs.
If you have a coffee in the morning, it's a black coffee.
Right.
There's no milk in it, there's no sweetener, there's no sugar.
Yeah, but the black coffee allegedly or supposedly doesn't actually break your fast as long as you just have black coffee. So you can drink black coffee even during your fast.
Yeah. Black coffee or green tea or water or anything like that. And
what about bullet coffee? Does it break the fast because it's got butter?
Well, according to Dave Asprey, no, it doesn't break the fast. But I don't necessarily agree with that.
Butter coffee is fat, so it wouldn't break your fat.
That's the claim. That's the idea, but I don't know. There's still some sort of caloric intake.
I'm no expert on it, but it worked for me. And my understanding on it was that when you fast for 16 hours and your body is looking for food, it draws its energy levels from glucose.
Yes.
So when you take carbohydrates, it draws the energy from the carbohydrates. So when your body is starved for 16 hours or 20 hours or however long you're fasting, and you only eat fats or proteins, next thing your body is saying to itself, okay, we're getting food now, here comes the glucose. No glucose comes, oh shit, we don't have any sugar to draw the energy from. What did you do? They take from your fat cells.
Right. I don't know if that works after. I don't know if that works after a 16-hour fast. I'm not sure. Again, I'm no expert either. I've lived the lifestyle for a long time, but I did. Like I said, I went to the doctor like around April, and they were like, "Your blood sugar's a little high." It was just kind of like borderline, and I read that the intermittent fasting can actually cause that. So yeah, it's your body's searching for sugar. So even if you're not fed, it's possible at a fasting state my sugar was slightly higher because it was circulating because of the fast. Maybe if I added butter to my coffee, that would have stopped that. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, that was I was only just that was my understanding of it. My other question was Killian the chemist. He's the other Irish fella that rings into you now and again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I have to apologise. There's like a 2-second delay on this line, so
I'm so sorry.
There's like a delay between. No, it's no problem. I'm ringing off a cell phone here. But he mentioned about Lonison. I go to a dermatologist about every 18 months. He prescribes me with a 6-month prescription of Proscar.
Okay.
And he prescribes me a 6-month prescription of Proscar that lasts me the 18 months. I take one 5 milligram tablet every 3 days. I've been doing it since last October. I was taking a quarter tablet daily after listening to Killian ringing in, and he mentioned about that when you cut down a tablet, it can actually affect the efficacy of the dose.
Yeah, I mean, there's oxidation. You know, as soon as you open up that tablet, it's
and
the coating's gone.
I mentioned in the previous phone call that what I started doing, instead of cutting my tablet size down, I started spreading it out and taking whole tablet over a longer period. When it was originally, say, instead of taking one 5 milligram tablet every 4 days, I decided to up my dose to every 3 days.
And how are you
now
doing?
I found I've been doing good. Like I've been on Proscar since I'm 40. I'm going to be turning 41 at the end of this year, and I've been taking it since I'm 25, going on 26.
Wow.
And I just found that maybe it slowed things, but it just didn't hold it back enough. When I upped the dose, what I've started noticing in the last, since October, it could be just, I just don't want to say enough count my chickens before they hatch, but like I think my temple points are starting to regenerate in some way.
Wow.
I can just see extra hair coming in. I don't know, but I actually must touch base with Killian, the fact that we live in Ireland. Like I must actually get in touch with him.
You should.
But,
you know, I believe, listen, I've been a believer for years that this is a dose-dependent drug. I'm not a doctor. So, you know, saying this as a fact.
Sorry, you're talking about finasteride.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I believe, you know, even though I do intermittent therapy like you, except I take one 5 milligram tablet about every 4 or 5 days now. It used to be once a week. And then I noticed things seemed to be waning. I went through a little bit of a shed. I decided to take my dosage closer together, and things seem to, and again, knock on wood, seem to resolve. So I absolutely believe this is a dose-dependent drug. So
I believe it is because of clinical experience where I'll never forget patient many years ago, he came in and he had been taking Proscar a full 5 milligrams per day daily for 5 or 6 years at least. And he had decent hair. It wasn't great. It was still diffuse thinning, but it was holding on to it. Doctor at the time said, why are you taking so much? You don't need to take so much. Just take 1 milligram. That's all you need. So the patient did. Poof. It disappeared.
Fucking doctors.
Had to go back on Avodart to get it back.
Fucking doctors.
Definitely dose dependent.
Doctors, what does he know?
The dermatologist that I go to anyway, I go to him every 18 months and he prescribes me and he gets me through my 18 months of Proscar till I go back to him again. I'll probably go back to him early next year. I just asked him, I said, what's the story with Loniton? Do you think Loniton works? He said, I'll give you a prescription. And he gave me a prescription for it. And I said, I don't know if I want to go on it now. The reason I didn't want to go on it because I wasn't sure about it. I haven't done enough research on it.
This guy has no problem running a prescription. Ask him for like Xanax or some shit, something good.
This dermatologist himself takes it.
Yeah.
And he said to me, you will find your body hair will grow, and like his eyebrows are like hedgerows. They're bushy eyebrows.
I gotta tell you, I could use a little eyebrow growth. I have my eyebrows have diminished a little bit as far as they're as robust as they used to be when I was younger. I mean, I've always had kind of like blonde edges. So, you know, if you see me in person, they look a little bit more full. But yeah, I mean, I've thought about getting on oral minoxidil to see if I could kind of up my game a little bit. But I'm not at a point now where I want to fuck with things. But it's something that I think about.
Yeah. It's the same with me. I'm kind of thinking about it, and I just know Killian when he comes on, he was doing I've seen a couple of his videos, and I've seen him talking about taking Lonatan and the effect that it has. And he rang in.
Listen, he's all in. This guy he's lucky enough to have a really good transplant. He started early intervention, but he's also all in, and yeah, it's great. He's a pharmacist or a chemist or whatever he is. So he knows a lot about how drugs work. So he feels comfortable using them. But I've never been a fan of the kitchen sink approach. And I think that if you're doing well right now, and like you said, you don't want to jinx yourself, but you think you're doing even better, I wouldn't fuck with anything.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm doing. I don't know. The thing is, I don't know how I'm doing. If that makes sense to you, like I've had 4 transplants. I mentioned it to you guys before. I've got a stepladder effect going in the back of my head with
sorry to hear that, man.
But it's just I was kind of half. I wasn't gonna go for it because I remember you, Joe. You mentioned before that like one side effect of Lonatan is the water retention, and I just didn't want to have this bloated feeling. And then, but Killian, he seems to speak highly of it. He says that, yeah, I had the heart palpitations, a bit of, you wouldn't notice it, but you can feel it if you notice that there was a bit of swelliness around his legs. I think he mentioned. I'm just kind of, how do you guys feel about Lonatan? Like, I'm still kind of on the fence about it.
I think that my opinion is that it's great to have this drug in our toolbox if we need it. But, your body, it really depends on the person, Some people have no water retention. Some people, like he said, he felt his ankle swelling. Now, even on the medication, and again, I'm not a doctor, but if you adjust your diet so that you can minimize water retention, it's possible that you're not going to get it on the drug, meaning obviously you have to lower your salt intake to some degree, but sugar is probably is going to affect your water retention even more than salt. So you would have to really lower your carbs, eliminate sugars. I would personally eat less salt, meaning I wouldn't add salt to my food. And you probably would avoid it. But there's also a potential for other side effects. So in my view, even with all of your history, right now, as of today, you think you're doing better with your slightly higher dose of finasteride. You may be doing much better in a year. I wouldn't put anything else in my body until I had to.
I will say this. I can't recall any case in my entire career in this industry where someone had, some sort of positive reaction due to a change or an addition to their regimen. Like in your case, you upped your dosage or your frequency, and you're having a positive outcome. That's great. But I've never heard, I hear this, I've heard this very often, but I've never heard of someone adding a completely different variable into their regimen and then suddenly just shit explodes with growth. Never heard of it. Never, ever had anyone say that they had an even better improvement once they add, this or that to their existing regimen. When they start throwing more treatments at the problem, never once have I ever heard of someone's situation improving beyond what they've done initially with a couple of tweaks. So that's another reason why I'm not a fan of throwing, everything, including the kitchen sink, at hair loss, because it just doesn't do anything. It's usually one, maybe two things that you do, and then that's it.
All right, man, listen, I hope we were able to help you today. We're going to take another call before we wind down and get out of here.
Just before you go, Spencer, just one more thing I wanted to touch on.
Yeah.
This isn't a question as such, it's just more a story for you.
Yeah.
I work, it's 1:20 a.m. and nearly 1:20 a.m. in the morning here. I don't get to listen to the show live very much. It's kind of a treat for me to listen to you guys.
I'm glad that you took the time to do it.
Nice.
But what I do is I always I work on the road a bit when I'm working, and to drive from one side of Ireland to the other, you do it in about 3 to 4 hours. I'd stick the broadfield on and I'd listen to previous podcasts as well on Joe's YouTube channel. I was listening recently to a guy, it was back around January or February, he called in, and his name was Joe, 22 years old. And I remember he was asking question after question after question. Joe Spartan, I think was his name. He was on the chat room as Joe Spartan. And I remember, I'm 41 now, and I remember that guy, he was saying that he was asking about exosomes, and he just had one question after the other for you, and you couldn't, you were trying to, we have other callers to get to. And I felt so sorry for him, because I remember when I was 22 years old and I started losing hair, I was like him. I remember just wanting to find out as much as I could about it. And the good thing for that guy is he found you. I didn't. I only found you in the last couple of years. And I'm hoping that with your guidance that he knows he's going to make the right decision. That, like, I know when you're 22 years old, you want to hear more, and regardless of what somebody tells you, and you have the decision made before you even ask for advice on it. I just wanted to mention that, like, regardless of what people said about him in the chat room, that I think people were making fun of him. My heart went out to him, because I remember I was the same 22-year-old guy. That was when he started losing his hair, but he found you, and he's in a better position than I am today. I'm 40 going on 41, and I'm glad for him.
Well,
that he was able to go with you guys.
Listen, I'm glad that you told that story, and I appreciate the sentiment, and I also appreciate what this kid was going through, and that's why we probably tried to answer his questions as many of his questions as possible in our limited time. As far as what people say in the chat room, in general, there's a lot of assholes in this world, and I'm sorry whoever's listening to this in the chat. The internet really provides kind of this platform for people to say whatever they want to say anonymously, stuff that they would never say to a person's face. And I think a lot of people forget how hair loss has affected them. So if someone has a weird affect, or someone is asking too many questions, or whatever it is, I think a lot of people are there's some assholes, but there's some people who are just trying to, get a rise out of the chat and have some fun. And if someone is reading the chat who's asking, like that kid, if he was reading the chat, he might have felt bad about it. So I hate when I see that. That's another reason I hate message forums. But I will tell you this, and I'm going to let you go on this. At least when you were 22, there was Google. Google did not exist when I was 22 years old. I had nothing. I had nobody to turn to. And it was dangerous as shit out there. So I'm sorry that you went through what you went through, but I'm glad that you found us now.
No, look, I found you. I find you guys now, and I'll say it. I said it to you the last time. I'm going to say it to you now. Thank you so much. You guys are the guiding light in the stormy sea of what this industry is. And I just want to thank you for that. Well,
I appreciate that, and that makes me feel like today and every day was certainly worth it, because I got to tell you, when Joe couldn't hook up to the show today, I was like, maybe we'll just take a day off. And I decided
you're doing this in your free time. Like, I saw that on the chat room, people giving out, and I was saying, hold on a second. These guys are doing this as a favor to us. Get off their case, That's what I was thinking when I saw the chat room where they were waiting for the broadcast to start. But anyway, guys.
Well, that's very kind of you. I appreciate that. And fuck everybody else.
I appreciate that. Thank you. But the truth is, we're just narcissists, and we want the world to see us, and so we fight hard every Friday to make it happen.
Yeah, Joe, that's not true. That's not true.
And honestly, if that were true, I would have sold out a long time ago, and we wouldn't have to be on your YouTube channel doing the show.
Yeah, that's true. Just do me one favor, will you?
No, Pat, we really appreciate your support and the kind words. It's very nice to say.
Do me one favor, though. When you get over to Ireland soon, because you two guys I would love to have pints with you. I could chat to you all day.
Well, you know what? I like to drink, and I would like to drink in Ireland, so I'll take you up on that.
That's on my bucket list.
I'll pay for the flight.
That would be really nice, but would you pay for first class? That's the question. All right, man. We'll talk about that.
Give me a few years.
Thanks for the call, man. Good luck. I appreciate the kind words.
Take care, Pat. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
All the best. Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
888-659-3727. One more call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Good morning, Spencer. Good morning, Joe. It's Graham from Australia. How you going?
Graham from
There he is.
Australia.
Hey,
I
man.
love that. How are you going?
I'm going well. I'm really going well, man. As you know.
Yeah. You getting much sleep?
I'm very tired.
Mazel tov
Not
on the
really.
birth of your first child.
Yeah, thank you so much, man.
Sure.
You know, it's unbelievable experience. You know, it's awesome, and yeah, it's been a fun 6 weeks. So yeah, it's been great.
Well, you know what? The fact that you say
Good for you.
it's been great means that your wife must be incredible. She must be doing a lot of work.
No, she's up and down. That's right. I've got the easy job, mate. I've got the easy job.
Yeah, you get to play with the kid. You'll change an occasional diaper because you know it's PC now. That's what you do.
Yep.
You know, I don't
That's
think
about
my
it, and I do
father. I could probably state this, even though I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure my father never changed a fucking diaper in his life.
Oh, the
I
new
think I'm
age
positive
man
my
has to
father
change
didn't.
the diapers.
What was that, Graham?
The new age man has to change the diapers now.
Yeah.
Or we call them nappies here in Australia. So
Nappies.
You call them diapers in America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when we were kids, at least when I was a kid, my mother actually had to. There were no Pampers when I was a kid. My mother had to use cloth diapers and wash them. Imagine that.
Oh, I couldn't imagine that.
Yeah, that's how old I am. So what's up, man?
I thought I'd check in, you know, like I haven't really got that much to say on the hair loss situation, but I did, when we had our lockdown here recently, and I did join a couple of the forums. I know you say don't go there for fun, to see what actually is going on, and exactly what you guys have been saying is exactly what's still going on today. People fighting, and I actually have been stirring the pot on the forum.
So when you say people are fighting, what are they fighting over now? In 2021, what are they talking about?
Minoxidil, finasteride, dutasteride.
So basically, you could rewind back to
It's the same shit over and over.
1997, and it's the same exact shit.
It's exactly the same shit as when I first got the internet I was a late starter in 2002 and started looking at the forums.
Yeah.
There's not one bit different, and it's still all these young guys running out to get transplants without going on finasteride even for a year. It's exactly the same. And after watching a lot of Joe's videos and hearing you guys, and I still to this day, now it's what I've nearly been suffering hair loss 30 years, I still say I don't know a quarter of what I think I do. It's just, and these guys are running out getting transplant, and their hair's a mess 12 months later. And if you say anything, they think you're negative, but honestly, you're just telling the truth. But everything that you guys have been saying, like, if you make a mistake the first time with a transplant, it's going to cost you 3 times the price to fix it.
Well, not only is it going to
that's
cost you
exactly
3 times the price to fix it, if you make a mistake in 2021 and you go overseas to have an aggressive FUE procedure, you will never be the same. Your life will never be the same. You're done. If it doesn't work out, you will never be the same. It's much more grave than it was 20 years ago as far as, you know, being able to repair a bad procedure. 20 years ago, you had a bad strip. Yeah, it could be fucked up. And there was a lot of guys who were really screwed up. But most of them were repairable. That's not the case anymore.
Yeah,
now kids are fucked. And they're more stubborn than ever before because at least 20 years ago, you know, hair transplant surgery was still kind of considered a fringe procedure. It's something that people didn't want to talk about. Everything was done on the down low. There was not a lot of information about it out there, so there were fewer people having it. The industry was much smaller. So, you know, now it is a case where kids believe that, well, if you're negative about it, which we're not, we're just honest about it, then, you know, we're just talking about the anomalies. These are, you know, this is never going to happen to us. Look at this Instagram image. You know, and there was an interesting post today by Dr. Christian Basanga on his personal Facebook page, basically showing that his images were stolen by a Turkish clinic. And that Turkish clinic happens to have a very strong social media presence. And I am sure that plenty of people made decisions to go to that clinic based on Dr. Basanga's before and after images. And they did not, they did not walk away with a procedure that they would have if they went to Brussels and saw Dr. B. And that's the reality.
I posted something and I thought to myself, I wonder if they'll actually put this up. And I was very surprised they did. I said, hair transplant should be about quality, not budget. And what I meant by that is, every time there's a good picture of a hair transplant, everyone says, how much does it cost? How much does it cost? All these people worry about is the budget, where they should look a little bit down the road and think, well, it might cost me $3,000, $4,000 more, and I might have to wait 2 years more to get it, but I'm not going to be fucked up. But they don't think like that. They think, I have to get this done, and this is my only option. And that's what I'm glad I haven't gone under the knife now. I'm 48 years old, because I can see the train wrecks and the mess that people have been in over the years. So
well, you're not I'm
very lucky.
I've seen your image. You're not even a candidate for a hair transplant. You know, you've been able to shave your head very close. You have a nice shadow going on. You look good the way that you look. You will never be able to. Once you're cut, man. That is it. And you're in a position now in life where you have a child. You're happily married. You have a nice life. I saw that you have a new home and a lot of really good things happening. Yeah, everyone wants to look like they prefer to look, but you look pretty good, I got to tell you, with a short haircut. So I think you really lucked out.
Yeah, I
can't
think
improve on perfection, Graham, so don't try.
I know, Joe. I mean, look at you, mate. You're a gun. You're an
yeah, but I keep doing stuff. You know, it's trying to improve.
And that's the thing. Each time I see one of your videos, I make sure I always watch them, and I'm just blown away, because it's like, it's funny. You release a video, and then within 2 weeks, all these other little channels release a very similar video, but without the same thing. You know, so they all follow what you guys do, but they never let on they do. That's what I've realized. You know, and
well, that's the reality. That's the reality of every niche actually in the world now, and it's pretty shitty that that's the case when it comes to our industry, but that's just the reality of the internet now, social media. People have the ability to get their message out there. They have the ability to steal content and ideas. It's a lot easier now than it was, say, like when I was on the radio. It was a completely different story. I got a lot of shit from some bad players in the industry. And you talk about cancel culture. The industry and so-called competitors, and I put that in quotes, try to cancel me 24 years ago. So I know what that's about. But everyone stole from me, from Joe, from everyone else, everyone who kind of like were pioneers in the industry. It's just the way that it is. I kind of look at it now like, whatever. You know, you're not us. You can't be me, and you can do your own thing. And the good news is some of the people that take, I guess, our lead are doing some pretty good things in general. Just a few of them. So I don't mind that at all. Joe, you were about to say something.
Well, I was going to say, I don't even know. I haven't been paying attention to what's going on, so I was going to ask Graham, are there any new videos that have come out that are covering the same subject matter that we've put out lately? Like, I don't know.
Besides don't have a hair transplant? Because that was pretty interesting, I got to tell you that.
One thing, I think your videos, Joe, are in a different level from a lot of these other guys. And even I sit back myself and go, fuck, I didn't know that, you know. And I love, that's what I love about your videos and the things that you do, where, like I said about the forums, everyone's talking the same thing: minoxidil, finasteride, dutasteride. But now, as we all know, the last 5 months, it's all about oral minoxidil, and that's exploded where it's nothing new, but it's just what hits, and what's next. And this thing about microneedling and things like that, does it work? Who knows? It's a lot of pain for nothing.
All we've been saying, and we continue to say it, and the reality is we do the same show every week. I've been doing the same show every week for almost 25 years. It's same questions, same conversations, just a new group of people in general. If any of this stuff worked, even if it was used consistently, if these protocols really work for people, we wouldn't be seeing bald guys walking around. I wouldn't be in business. I wouldn't be doing this show for 24 years. I'd be completely irrelevant. We wouldn't be doing the Global Hair Loss Summit again this year and get the response that we're getting from the industry. It would be meaningless because people would just be able to cure their hair loss by rolling their fucking heads.
Why don't people realize that?
I got to ask. Akash Dugal in the chat room says off-label RU58841.
It's all off-label.
I don't even know what that is. What is off-label RU? All of it's off-label.
You don't even know. No one even knows.
That stuff's been around for over 25 years.
But no one even knows what's.
It doesn't seem to be effective because it's like there's nothing to it.
In
1997
or 1998, when I first got onto alt.baldspot after my book was published, and I found this community, everyone was talking about RU58841. I have old broadcasts from 1998. People are calling in about it. It never got off the fucking shelf. And everything that people are putting on their heads, we have no idea if what's being sold on the gray and black market is actually something that's real. How many people who have purchased these products from these gray market sources have ever actually had the drug tested? Or whatever they're getting in the mail that they have to put together tested. Who knows what the fuck these guys are taking? Who knows what they're putting on their bodies and then, in their bodies? There's some stuff being sold online right now. I saw it. It's a spray bottle. It's some company selling it on Instagram or Facebook. RU58841, liquid formulation with something else. How do you fucking know what's in that bottle? And if you do know what's in that bottle, if it really worked, we wouldn't be here.
I'll never forget a patient. He was so into the medical side of things. Like he had a surgery, but he was so into this sourcing dutasteride from the actual manufacturer in China. He was getting Chinese-made dutasteride powder, and he was putting together his own capsules at a much higher dosage than what you could get from local prescriptions. I remember thinking to myself, who the hell would even think of doing something like that, much less how can you trust it? Like, how do you, this big bag of some sort of powder, and it says dutasteride on the side, how do you know it's actually not sawdust? Like, I don't understand that.
Well, listen, people.
Yeah, there's this whole community that does that.
There's a lot of people that are
with
buying illicit drugs from websites that are, Chinese based or the elements to put together these drugs, and they're fucking dying.
Yeah. Sorry to go off topic there, Graham.
No, that's fantastic. And there was I don't know who he is. There's a young caller that calls in. He's a lovely kid. I think the guy from Ireland was talking about him. Tell him I'm 48 years old, and I can honestly say finasteride and minoxidil, look at those two things and don't worry about whatever else is going on around at the moment. That's all I'm going to say, because they are the things that will help you. And hair loss is not the end of the world. Like, I've been there and done that, and I'm living a good life. I have my ups and downs, but at the end of it, don't let it stop your life. Keep moving, keep going out, keep having fun,
Well, that's good. That's good advice coming from a guy your age. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, as much as it tries to drag you down, I still feel like the guy that's 20 years old now. But
You know what? You should give Harry a call or contact Harry from Bald Cafe. You'd be a good guy to have on his channel.
Yeah, I might give him a call one day. You know, I'm not scared to shave my hair short or anything like that. It does, for me. I think it looks a lot better than having it look thin. It makes you look a lot older if you have it thin. Don't be scared to clip your hair. It's not going to hurt you. You know, so. It's the old joke. What's the difference between a good haircut and a bad haircut? 4 weeks, you know. That's the difference.
That's true.
Give it a go.
All right, Graham. On that note, I'm going to let you go. And I'm so
okay, guys.
I have to tell you that. First of all, I'm glad that you called, but it makes me feel so, I guess, accomplished in a sense that we have callers from all over the world: Ireland, Australia. Joe, I mean, it's wild to me. This is an online live broadcast. Honestly, I'm going to say this, and it's hair loss. You don't see a lot of live internet broadcasts, like we do, that actually take calls with no screener and get enough calls from all over the world to make a show. So I have to thank all of you guys that take the time to listen and to call, because it's you guys that make this broadcast.
100%.
Graham, I really
100%.
appreciate it, man.
No, thank you very much. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Spence, and keep doing what you're doing. And I hope that all these young guys find you just as much as everyone else on this channel has. So that's all I've got to say.
Well, you guys, when you can, you need to spread the word. I mean, this is a free service. We sell nothing, and there should be no reason why, and sadly, that's not the case, where message forums and chat groups and all this stuff, why they shouldn't be or allow discussion about this program. And if that happens, if someone posts about the Bald Truth and it's deleted, you guys should really look at whatever resource that is with a jaw on the side.
That actually just happened to me the other day. Someone had posted my Sapphire FUE video.
Yeah.
And then it was taken down by the moderators.
Really?
A day later. Yeah.
Was that a message forum or like a Facebook group?
It was a message forum.
It's disgusting.
It's disgusting.
It's repugnant.
But it's sad. It's just sad more than anything. The I don't know. I don't want to call it small-mindedness. It's just narrow-mindedness, I guess. I don't know.
Well, that's one reason why, and also social media, that the sponsored hair transplant, hair loss message forums are dying. That's why Bald Truth Talk was never sponsored. I put it up there as something separate and apart from what we do. Like, you know what? You want a message forum? Great, here it is. Go at it. Have at it, as Graham would say. All right, dude. Take care.
For me,
yeah,
I'll let you go. Hair loss is a hobby for me now, and it's interesting. Your program is a hobby. I love it. I enjoy the business and what it's about, but I know there's no magic cure. But I just hope that everyone else realizes that. All right, guys, you have a great weekend.
All right, man.
Thank
you take
you very
care.
much.
Thanks again. Bye-bye.
See you, Joe. See you, Spence. Take care.
All right. Bye. Joe, do you want to take one more call, and we'll try to make it quick?
If it's quick, it's 5:30.
Okay. Right.
5:40.
It's 5:40, and Joe's hangry, so let's make this quick. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hey, Spence, Joe, this is Bruce in Houston.
Bruce, how are you, man? Listen, you got to make this brief because Joe is about to lose his shit.
Okay, just three things real quick. The first thing is minoxidil. It doesn't work worth the shit unless you start it in your 20s and 30s. If you try to do it in your 40s and 50s, it ain't going to work. I can just tell you that right now. Get that all off the plate. But what I really wanted to call in about was my last deal procedure was with Dr. Roach. Let's see, it was in 5 days. It'll be 7 months, and the donor area, the front looks good. I mean, everything. I mean, it's night and day. 7 months in, but the donor area on those ears where I was telling you about, where he did the tricho. He at a forecut, just a foreguard, whatever. It's just, it looks like, okay, the baseball cap you wear and the ring around your head.
Yeah.
Down, around where, how in the summertime you sweat. It looks just like that. I have to use derm mats to cover the all the way, like from 3 inches on behind each ear on the lower part. The middle part is acceptable, but 3 to 4 inches on each side.
All right. So if Bruce, if I recall, you had a strip, right?
Yeah, and I had this previous strip, and I had the conversation with him about, man, you sure we shouldn't do an FUE this time? Blah blah blah. He goes, no, we'll get more, in the, because I think they got 2,400 grafts, and then it was to hide some of those old plugs from the the 90s and stuff, and it's done a great job with that. But the donor area is just, I thought I'd be done after this. I mean, and it's like, I'm just the example, like Spence, when you kept saying earlier and earlier, once you're cut, you're cut, and here I am 54, I'll be 55. And it's like, I'm going to have to, if I can either keep putting derm mats on it the rest of my life, or I can go somewhere where somebody can do some beard extraction or something. And
Joe, I'm going to let Joe field this, because Joe has a lot of experience with this, both on a personal level and he sees a lot of patients in person. That's not my car. He's there.
Yeah, I'm here, Joe.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, I'm here.
No, I mean, well, it just goes to show you that no matter what anyone says, including the doctor, sorry. Do you need to get out of your car or something?
No, I'm back in.
Oh, okay.
I'm here.
It just goes to show you that when you go to a clinic and even the doctor says, no, strip is the way to go, that'll get us more hair. Sometimes the goal isn't more hair. Sometimes the goal is just to look as natural as possible, and getting more hair isn't necessarily always the singular solution for that goal or to achieve that goal. Sometimes it's maybe a little bit less hair and maybe going with a different technique so that you don't have this issue in the end. Like every time you go in for a strip, I don't care if it's your first time, if it's your 8th time, it could be the last time because of stretch back. Yeah. And where you're having the issue is a typical area of stretch back, because it's typically tighter than it is in other areas of the scalp, and it's the number one area where doctors misjudge the tension, and things like this happen.
Well, okay, I understand that 110% exactly, and you're right, but it's already done now. So, and I don't look, man. I'm older, like Spence. I don't believe all the bullshit. I don't know if they misjudged it or just.
How dare you?
I'm older, like Spence. I'm sorry.
I'm talking like when you get older in life and you've been through a divorce, you've been through this and that, and you got people, you've been backstabbed. Someone, you just realize that that people. It was right kind of at the tail end of COVID, and I think people were hurting everywhere, and I don't know. And I hate to say, I just don't know. I don't know what happened, but I just know that it wasn't right for me, and I had that gut feeling, but I knew that I'd already been in it a couple of times, so it's like one of those deals where you still got to go forward and get it right, or look inappropriate. And so whenever I did, I just, and when I called you at 3 or 4 months in, a couple of months ago, I just had that gut feeling, and you kept saying, give it more time, and I said, yeah, you're right, but. I mean, I don't know. I got to find somebody.
Well, here's the thing. I want to give you, now that you're 7 months out and you're in this position, obviously when you first call in, based on our experience, sometimes there are patients who do have shock loss in the donor. It grows back. They give it more time, and things are great. Sounds to me like you may have some stretch back, as Joe was describing. I'm not 100% sure. And you also may have some permanent shock loss, which sadly, in this game, while it's not the norm, it can happen. So yeah, I understand. Listen, and that's why we always try to tell people. Obviously, what's done is done, but it doesn't matter who you go to. It doesn't matter. You know, you made a great point actually that it was the end of COVID. Who knows? Who knows what people's stressors were? Who knows why certain decisions were made? You know, we always hope that a physician is going to live up to his Hippocratic oath, even in this fucked up field, and do what he really believes is right for the patient, even if that means he may not be able to get the numbers that the patient wants, or he's going to make more money or less money, whatever it is. Usually with a strip, you're making a little less money. But who knows? Yeah. Who knows the reasoning and why those choices were made? So you're right about that, and it sucks.
Well,
that's all I can tell you. I know it sucks.
Yeah.
So on the sides, I had the white hair with a little bit of the gray, whatever, with a little bit of blend of the gray. So I've been using the gray Dermax, but it just, like you said, Spence, use it dry and just put a little bit on there, and it'll work. But if you put too much on there, then it stands out like a gray line. I can't do that. But, so, I mean, eventually, I think I have on the sides for like an FUE to fill in the deal. But I mean, as far as, I mean, you got to go to somebody in the States or wherever in this world that is good at, like, even possibly going to the beard extractions and stuff, just for the, because in the donor area, I don't think the beard extractions is that big of a deal, like as opposed to the frontal hairline. But I mean, there's got to be guys on that list, the HAR, that can specialize in just what I need.
There are guys. There are guys here in the U.S. who can make that happen for you, but even in the best hands, those grafts may not grow into that scar tissue. These are all things that you have to accept as a possibility if you move forward with it. And, you know, again, these are choices that none of us want to have to make, and it's fucked up that you're in this position right now. I understand it.
Yeah, but I've heard, I know I've heard Joe for sure, and I may have heard you, Spence, but I know I've heard Joe for sure say in the past that the scar tissue can really produce some good growth. I mean,
it can.
I've heard Joe say that, I know, in the past. And I just, you know, I don't know. I mean, there's got to be some guys that out of that whole list, and I don't know if I have to go overseas or if I can just stay here in the States and get it done or whatever, but, you know, that could do it. I'm you know.
I'm going to let you talk, Joe, and then I'll chime in.
India, but shit, you can't.
Well,
go to India right
I
now.
think that, I'm getting the feeling that you're asking for specific names to help you out on this.
Yeah.
There are several great doctors that can extract beard grafts. I personally think that going with scalp grafts into, you know, your particular area of concern is more of a viable alternative, because beard hair still doesn't survive as well as scalp hair. Scalp hair is the number one. Like if the grafts are taken out properly, they're handled properly and safely, and put back in properly and safely, they're going to have the highest survival rate. And you're probably not looking at a lot of hair to begin with to put into the area. I would definitely recommend staying away from a scar revision using strip. You know, you've been there, you've done that. The area that you have an issue with is the notoriously difficult. Like, it is the most difficult area to resolve with additional strips, simply because of the nature of that specific region. So
no, dude, my scalp integrity is like shot, like an 80-year-old woman with her, you know, breast hanging down. I mean, you know,
yeah, okay,
I mean,
fair enough.
My scalp integrity, you can't go there again with that. It's got to be FUE. It has to be. And I wouldn't accept anything.
So
like that.
I think that you know, the thing to do is just start doing some research. Look on the IAHRS, look on a Hair Transplant Mentor, contact the different doctors that talk about this on their website, and go through the process. It's what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for another learning experience through research, and you need to be in a position when you make the final decision, you feel comfortable based on the knowledge set that you've grown for yourself about the procedure, or about the the options that are out there. So, like you got to go back in research mode. And you'll find it. Like there are several doctors that are good at this, and you've got a high probability of having some success in camouflaging the issue that's developed.
Yeah.
What's the question, Bruce?
Can I ask you this one? The question is can I find somebody in Texas, or do I need to go out of the state, but in the United States? that you think's really good at what
I would say that someone to speak with who's young and does a lot of the work, or most of the work himself, well, a great deal of the work himself, is Dr. Yeager.
Up in Plano?
Yeah.
Plano.
I would say that he would be very apt to provide you with the information that you need to make a better informed decision. Let's put it that way.
Okay. And he's a recent member, and
it doesn't matter. He's got a lot of time on. He's got a lot of time on tissue. He never applied before, and he's young. So.
Oh, was he just a hidden gem then? Maybe.
Well, when he applied to the organization,
so.
I was kind of shocked at his level of commitment and the work that he was able to produce, and I was kind of shocked that I had never known about this guy. So to me,
I've seen his videos with Joe. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, yes. Yeah. But everyone fucks up. That's how I even hate recommending anything or anybody directly, because everyone fucks up. I could say this guy's the greatest thing since sliced bread because he did apply and make it into the group. But and I've removed people. I've recently removed people from the group as well. It's just the way that it is.
Yeah, we both have.
Right. So
is Joe.
Yeah. So 4 or 5 hours in a car ride is what I could go to Plano, but. Does Cooley do this too?
Yes, he does.
He does. A fair amount of it, actually. Yeah. I'll say this: like, I'm not going to point you towards any particular doctor, but basically any doctor that I work with has experience with this kind of procedure, filling in with scalp or beard, and having good success with it. I mean, it's not a requirement, but it is one of the things I look for on how proficient they are with repair work, and I feel confident with that. But I'm not going to give you any specific names, but just go through the list and see what you like.
Yeah, so because that should be another video you maybe could consider in the future about older guys in their 40s and 50s. That scalp integrity is a big concern as you get older. I mean, I understand it can be a concern at any age. Okay, we all know the risk involved, cosmetic stuff like this.
What do you mean by scalp integrity?
What I mean is well, just like it wasn't. I guess he didn't, like you said, judge it right enough to where maybe it was a little bit more tension than what he thought or something. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that. So
it's fair.
But I just, and it's fair because look, we at the end of the day, it's hard to. I mean, when you do this, like y'all said a million times, it's your risk that you're taking. But I will definitely look into Yeager since he is a Texas guy, and then
you definitely should. And I have a question for you. So how much would it affect you to use a little Dermatch every day if that was your last resort? I mean, go ahead.
Not at all. I just, when you're in a hurry and you're running out the door, there's days I say screw it. Then there's other days where I'll take the time to apply it. When I got time, you just need the handheld mirror to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's it.
And if you got up 10 minutes earlier, just to make sure that was part of your regimen in the morning or whenever you leave the house, it would save you a lot of money and also save you the potential of having a downside to your next surgery. And I'm not saying that's where you need to go, but if I would say that if you have more hair in your head now that you feel grew in well, and overall you look better, would you say that's the case?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And for my age, it's appropriate as far as a little bit of thinning in the mid-scalp to the crown a little bit. But I never lost that that part that goes down to these guys that go to a 7, on the scale. I never did that. So because of the finasteride, I take 1 milligram a day. But
look, it still sucks. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it's obviously it's not a perfect situation, but in the end, you went through the surgery. You came out generally looking better, but you had a fucked up donor, which sadly happens. But if you can cover that donor with a little bit of camouflage, you're still winning. That's all I can say.
Oh yeah, it's just a balance of the haircuts every 3 weeks, as far as putting the 4 guard on the back and telling the lady that cuts my hair to do like a 3.5 on the sides. And then, you tell them that, and then they're kind of looking at you going, well, shit,
I've been going to the same barber for over 20 years since I moved to Los Angeles. This guy's like 75 years old now. I don't know how long he's going to last. He was already in the hospital, all kinds of stuff. And this barbershop it's an insane place. I think I'm like the youngest guy there. I mean, they're wheeling people into this guy. This guy's been around. He's been around Studio City forever. So he's the only guy that I trust, and he knows one wrong move, I'm bald.
Right.
And I could see the stress in his face when I walk through that fucking door.
Right.
So
yeah, I can understand that, and I can understand your concern every time you're going, okay, is this going to be the time where he doesn't? He's imperfect. We're all not. None of us are perfect.
Yeah.
So I get that. But hey, Joe or Spence, one more question on this is it's not completely to where it's very like when you cut it down a little bit, you can see it's you can tell like the ring around the ball cap description I'm giving y'all, because y'all can't see me, of course.
Yeah.
So if let's say it's like 4 inches on one side and 3 on the other.
If you want to be on camera, I'll give you a number to call into. You'll pop right up on the screen, man.
Yeah, I could do that. I don't care. But I mean, I'm
Joe's like, oh no, please don't. I gotta go.
Well, maybe next week.
All right. You know what? It's all set. It's all set up. I'll give you an ID and a passcode. I trust you. You're a cop, and we'll let you into this directly into our studio.
Okay, and you're right about the police industry, man. I mean, that nobody wants to do this job anymore, and it's going to get worse. But anyway, that's a separate deal. But so, am I looking at about 1,000 grafts just for those, like a 4 inch on one side and 3 on the other, or can I go get away with less than that? I mean, I know Jaeger would tell me, but
I'm pretty sure, depending on what it looks, depending on what you're talking about, it's probably less, because you just have to break up the scar.
Yeah. When you say less, 500-800.
It's hard to say. I don't want to put expectations in your head if Dr. Yeager or someone else tells you different, but I've rarely seen cases like that go above 850.
Okay. Well, he could get that off the sides then. That's kind of, all the sides that have never really been touched because of the strip. Because my hair goes all the way up. It doesn't thin at the, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Around the.
Yes, it's still strong. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, you probably have a great deal of donor that you could work with if you really needed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Bruce. Listen.
Well,
maybe next week you'll show us.
Well, how do I get that?
You call in if you call in next week. You call in next week. You know what? Send Joe a quick email with your email address. If you call in next week, he'll be able to email that to you right away.
Yeah.
What email address do I send my email to?
Have you emailed me before?
I have, Joe, but your site's a little jacked up, man. I mean, sometimes it's when you go in to sign in, it just goes. It's just a deal to ask questions, and you don't have like a blog thing, or you don't have. I mean, I'm not knocking your site. I'm just saying it's.
No, Bruce, you're not knocking it. You just said it was jacked up. I'm just kidding.
No offense, but it's really fucked. No, well, the homepage itself is the blog, so click on any article and you can respond to it. But you and I have had emails back and forth, right?
Oh yeah, several times.
Okay, so go in your email system, whatever you use, and search for hairtransplantmentor.com, and our emails will pop up.
That's so funny because Joe doesn't want to give out his email address anymore. And I get it. I fucking get it.
That's fine. What I can do, I can search it in my email on my phone, and it'll pop up from a previous one, and I'll just reply to that.
There you go.
All right, Bruce, we're going to call it a night. Yeah. Thank you for the call, and we'll be here next week. And try not to stress about it too much because you're still winning.
Yeah, and damn doctors and lawyers and psychologists and all of them, man. You don't want to deal with any of them because they string you along, but you got to have them.
And that's the sad part. I trust no one, and I got to tell you, I'm not a fan of dealing with lawyers, but I've had to deal with them before because there are times when you do need them, whether I need a contract done or whatever. But
or
the worst
divorce.
Or a divorce. But the worst case scenario is having to need any of this shit.
Oh, I know. And then when you do get a good one and they're so busy, I'm going to send you this, or I'm going to call you, or I'll give you an answer next week, and then 4 weeks go by and you don't hear from them. It's frustrating, but yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to email, man, and hey, thanks for taking this last call too. I appreciate it.
Bruce, our pleasure. I'm glad it was you. All right, take care. Thanks for your service, man.
All right, good. Yes, sir.
Okay,
thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Take care, Bruce.
Guy is on the front lines, man.
He really is.
Respect
that guy.
100%. And that's why, even though you wanted to get the fuck off the phone, I was like, you know what, it's Bruce. We got to take this.
No, it was worth it. It was worth staying.
All right, guys.
I can't give out the websites because I can't hear myself. Like I keep getting this echo, and I won't be able to get through the whole thing.
All right. I was going to say I'm not going to make a joke about the website. So the websites are thebaldtruth.com for archives for this broadcast, which, every once in a while I will throw something up there. I don't have anybody that I allow to do that because I don't trust anybody to put my content out there. That's my problem. And sadly, because of that, it's your problem as well. But when we upload them, they'll be uploaded. Everyone who's listening through Spotify or iTunes or anywhere else the show is airing or streaming live, it doesn't air live on Spotify, but if you're listening to this broadcast on a podcast, my advice is to go to Joe Tillman's YouTube channel, which is the hair transplant channel. It's youtube.com/hair transplant mentor.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And you can watch this broadcast live on his channel. You need to subscribe, which makes it easier, and you need to ring that bell or click that bell to ensure that you're notified when we go live or when Joe decides to upload one of his videos or a new class for you guys to enjoy and to learn from. Right, Joe? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
American Hair Loss Association, AmericanHairLoss.org. That's AmericanHairLoss.org. And by the way, just so you guys know, we are a 501c3 charitable organization. And I don't draw any fucking salary from the organization, which I could. I choose not to do that. Because I want to keep whatever information, and I want to keep, anything that we do as pure as possible. And I think that's probably why resources like WebMD and every major media resource uses our information, our statistics, and our content as the gospel. I got to tell you, there's a lot of nonprofit organizations in the world. If you guys knew the reality of nonprofits, you probably would look at some of them with a jaundiced eye. So just because an organization or a company or whatever or a foundation is a nonprofit does not mean that they're necessarily doing good. And it also does not mean that the directors and the people involved aren't making a shitload of money from their untaxed income or their untaxed income to the company. Because they are. You know who I'm talking about. At least Joe does. And some of the doctors. The International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. It's a safe place that I founded about 20 years ago to at least start to do your research when considering surgical hair restoration. Joe Tillman's website is hairtransplantmentor.com. Everything Joe Tillman. Also, he works with some doctors exclusively that are obviously all IAHRS members. But it's really a great place to get a lot of information. Also to kind of see the journey of a guy who was a young hair loss sufferer who got fucked up, and he was able to get repaired and look as good as he does now at the age of 51. which is pretty impressive, I have to say. You know, every time I say that and I actually take a look at your hair, it's like, that's possible. I mean, that's a hair transplant. Possible. No one in the world would fucking know that you were fucking bald as Formica, or you should be at this point.
With ant legs for hair.
Yeah. You survived, man. You survived the hair loss industry, which is pretty impressive. So check that out, hairtransplantmentor.com. Baldtruthtalk.com is our message forum. I always tell you guys, stay off the fucking forums, but somehow it's still the most trafficked forum in the industry. I don't know why exactly, except I think I do in a sense. I mean, we keep it heavily moderated. At least we've been having trouble moderating the spam because there's so much. But as far as the real bad guys in the industry and the guys that are trying to take advantage of you, we make sure that shit's not there, at the very least.
100%.
You go to any message forum, trust me. Trust me, if you knew what went on behind the scenes, you would fucking throw up. These are the most toxic, disgusting places in general. And that's why I tell people, even as far as our forum, stay off the forum, man. There's a lot of bullshit on there, and we can't protect you from everything. So at the very least, don't make a decision to have surgery based on some anonymous user's recommendation. Be smart. But still check out baldtruthtalk.com because it's good to get some traffic. Is that it, Joe?
I think that's it.
Oh, shit.
No, the UK show.
Ape2gentleman.com. That's ape, like an ape, to gentleman.com. Yeah, for archives of the UK show. That's the Bald Truth UK with me and Spencer Speck Stevenson as the co-hosts of a show that, honestly, I'm fucking surprised at how many downloads that thing gets. So we have to thank Ape Gentleman for, as Specs would say, housing the broadcast. I'm picking up all these UK colloquialisms. I can't even say that word. These little
you just did
tidbits from the UK. Like I'm starting to. Instead of saying advertising, I say adverts now. It's just kind of weird.
Adverts or advertisements.
Advertisements, yeah, I do say that. And I call, instead of friends, I say mates a lot now, which is really weird, especially since I'm a...
Oh, careful. He'll give you a hard time about that.
I'm a Jew from New York living in L.A. That's fucking weird. But I do it because I like the way it sounds.
Hey, when in Rome.
Yeah. All right, Joe, listen, thank you for being patient and sticking around for our brethren to call in, even though it's very late here.
It's what we do, man. That's what we do.
All right, guys, listen, until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you so much for listening. Take care.
Thank you very much. Thanks. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the programme, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you.